But we are live now.
Namaskar and very good morning to distinguished senior officers of Telecom Regulatory Authority of India present on the dais, who are speakers for today, and all the participants from various universities, colleges, government organizations, telecom service providers, infrastructure providers, industry associations, consumer advocacy groups, and consumers. I am Manish Saxena, Joint Advisor, TRI Regional Office, Jaipur. It gives me immense pleasure to welcome you all here in this online webinar of TRI on blockchain technology and its applications. It is being organized by TRI Regional Office Jaipur. Today we have with us Shri Mahendra Srivastava, Principal Advisor TRI, as the chief guest for the occasion. The program is divided into two sessions. After this inaugural session, second technical session would commence in which Shri Sanjay Kumar, PGM BSNL, Shri Asit Kadian, Advisor TRI, Dr. Ramesh Babu Batula, Assistant Professor, MNIT Jaipur, Shri Apoor Mehra, Senior Program Manager, Microsoft India, would deliberate on various aspects of blockchain technology. I am sure this webinar will prove to be a very good opportunity for learning, interaction, exchange of ideas and views, and it will be an enriching experience for every participant. On this AirMeet platform, by default, your mic and video has been muted. However, to raise your queries or question, you can type and send it through chat option available. Those who have joined through laptop or desktop, they can send their queries on question and answer tab also. They also have a option of raise hand tab on their screen, and we would like to answer as many queries and questions uh, at the as the time permits after each presentation. Now, I request Shri S.S. Chandak, Advisor, Regional Office, Jaipur, for the welcome speech. Shri S.S. Chandak, sir.
Thanks, Manish. Good morning. On behalf of TRI Regional Office Jaipur, I welcome our chief guest and keynote speaker, Sri Mahendra Srivastava ji. He is Principal Advisor, Consumer Affairs, Quality of Service Information Division, and also looking after charge of Broadcast and Cable Division at TRI Headquarters, New Delhi. In fact, this Consumer Affairs Division is responsible for conducting seminars throughout the country. And I'm really thankful to him that in a very short time, he has given consent for this seminar and to become the chief guest of this seminar also. I also welcome our special guest, Sri Asit Kadianji, who is advisor quality of service and looking after charge of CA and IT. He is also at PRI headquarters in New Delhi. I welcome Sri Sanjay Kumarji. He is Principal General Manager, BSNL Jaipur, and he is also delivering one lecture on blockchain. I welcome Dr. Ramesh Babu Batula. Uh, he is Assistant Professor in MNIT Jaipur. I also welcome Sri Apoor Mehra, Senior Program Manager, Microsoft India. I also welcome my TRAI colleagues, CAG member, officers and official from DOT and other central and state government and PSUs, officers and executive from BSNL, consumer fraternity groups, representative of the telecom service provider in the webinar blockchain technology and its application being organized by the Regional Office Jaipur. Regional Office Jaipur looking after 4 license area, that is Rajasthan, Gujarat, Haryana and Punjab, which also covers Union Territory of Chandigarh, Daman and Diu, Dadar and Nagar Haveli. One of the prime objective of Trai is to make regulation for protection of consumer interest. But this is only one part. To reach all this, uh, as you know that our telecom group, consumer group is the largest group in India. It has around 120 crore customers. So in order to reach this much population, TRAI organizes uh, consumer outreach program through regional offices, then consumer awareness program through consumer advocacy groups, and consumer education program through telecom service provider. Apart from this, one of the function of TRI as envisaged in the Trai Act 1997 to give recommendation on technological improvement in the services provided by the service provider and measures for the development of telecommunication technology and any other matter relatable to telecommunication industries in general. In view of the above, TRI organized seminar on contemporary topics relevant to telecom and broadcasting industries by involving stakeholders such as central and state government, academicians, and representatives from the industries. Due to corona pandemic, we are organizing this seminar through virtual mode. Today's topic is blockchain technology and its application. Actually, blockchain is a system uh, of recording information in a way that make it very difficult or impossible to change. Goal of the blockchain is to allow digital information to be recorded and distributed but not edited. Original concept behind the invention of blockchain technology was transfer money. Money transfer using blockchain can be uh, less expensive and faster. This is especially true for the cross-border transactions. Blockchain allow Bitcoin and other cryptocurrency operate without the need of central authorities. This not only reduces risk but also eliminate the processing and transaction fees. Advocate of the blockchain technology says that it will disrupt and change everything from education to financial payment, insurance, intellectual property, and healthcare, etc. Any new technology introduced also bring challenges to the technical world. Challenges in the blockchain technology is high energy consumption, less number of available skilled manpower, and lack of standardization, etc. Now I will inform you about the topics covered in the webinar. As I already told, our keynote speaker is Shri Mahesh Srivastav ji. After that, Sri Sanjay Kumar ji, PGM BSNL, will cover blockchain technology and its important use cases. Sri Asit Kadian ji, advisor Trai headquarter, will give the blockchain by TRI to curb spam messages. This is the practical application we are running in our TRI for DND and all other things. Then Dr. Ramesh Babu Batula, he is assistant professor in MNIT Jaipur. He will cover blockchain for 5G and beyond. And Sri Apur Mehra, Sri Senior Program Manager, Microsoft, will cover blockchain use cases, philanthropy case studies. I wish the deliberation in the seminar will be fruitful. I wish all the success for this seminar. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Uh, Shri Mahesh Srivastav ji is the chief guest and the keynote speaker for this webinar today. Shri Mahesh Srivastav ji is an Indian Telecom Service 1988 batch officer serving in Department of Telecommunication, Government of India since February 1989. He has been part of telecom transformation in India through his various assignments ranging from long-distance digital radio, fiber-based project execution, policy framing, spectrum management at Telecom TCHQ DOT headquarters, mobile service planning, deployment and operations including billing, IN and data center management at North Zone Chandigarh for BSNL, planning and coordination for Bharat Broadband Network Limited, including satellite project implementations, and now with telecom and broadcasting regulations at TRI as principal advisor for QoS and broadcasting since August 2021. He has played an instrumental role in introduction of digital radio and fiber-based transmission system in India. He has been part of technical advisory group on INSAT of Department of Science and has contributed in defining the specification for INSAT 1C and 1D system transponders for the uses of telecommunication. His contribution at DOT headquarters resulted in introduction of internet services in island of Lakshadweep and mobility-based services in Andaman, Nicobar and Lakshadweep Islands. He has represented India at various international forums like APSCC, ITUR Study Group 1, World Radio Conference, WTSA Preparatory Meet of Asia Pacific Telecom, etc. I invite Shri Mahen Srivastava, Principal Advisor TRI, to deliver his keynote address. Sir.
Thank you, Manish. And at the outset, I must extend heartiest congratulations to all members in the group on TRI completing 25 years of its journey. You know that as per the uh, TRI Act 1997, this institution was formed to regulate and to decide the disputes between various operators, and this was necessitated after introduction of the private players. So TRI as an organization, as a regulator, has completed its 25 years of journey on 20th February this year, and now we are celebrating our silver jubilee throughout this year, and various webinars and various activities in the field, including one of the major activity which is planned on 17th May this year at Bigyan Bhavan, are the things which are in pipeline to celebrate this 25 years of journey. We have, as a regulator, as a facilitator, it has seen the transformation of journey and given many important input in terms of the rolling out of the various kinds of the services across the country. It has interacted many of the initiatives taken by the TRI in the field of telecom, be it spectrum management, pricing policies, or interconnect regulations, or set tariffs. Earlier, the tariff regulations. Later on, it was made as a forbearance. So these are the prominent things which have helped the industry to grow as at large. And now we are with around 120 million, 1,200 million telecom subscribers across the country. In 2004, broadcasting was also brought into the domain of the TRI, and since then it has been regulating broadcasting sector also. The today's topic, that is the blockchain technology and its application, is really it's a very buzzing topic, wherein throughout the world, not only the limited to a particular region or to a particular area, or in a country, throughout the world, it is being talked about. Most of the newspapers, most of the discussions are being happening in terms of the utilization of the blockchain. And it is happening just because the importance what the blockchain is going to impart in the world scenario. This is going to change the business processes. This is going to change economic activities. This is going to change various other processes which are being followed, whether in terms of the governance or whether in terms of the public delivery services, whether in terms of the education or any other terms. Just to have a broad look, what the blockchain as such has gone through till date, we have got around 2 million customers. It's a bit old figures, maybe a year old or maybe a year and a half old. Around 2 million customers who are using the blockchain wallet. There are 3 times rise blockchain related LinkedIn job since the 2018 and 19. There are 50 times growth in blockchain second generation Ethereum witness there are 16 times increase in this is the initial coin offer like EPO. There is an initial coin offer technology is also there. There is 16 times increase. More than 200 ICOs are coming almost on monthly basis. 14 countries are participating in this. The blockchain recorded a potential annual saving made by banks somewhere around 12 billion US dollars. So really, it has got a great potential in coming days, and we have to understand that what is exactly blockchain and in what way it is going to affect our day-to-day life as well as the public life and economic activities in a given region or administration. Just I was going through some papers. I found a very good analogy of understanding what is the blockchain in purely layman language. Who knows the computer as such. If you are preparing your personal account in a given Excel sheet of the Microsoft Excel worksheet, you enter your data and capture it. Once your data is saved in that particular file, it is called ledger. But if this data is distributed among the number of the computers which are connected through a network, we call it distributed ledger. And once the other users of the computers who are also allowed to enter the data and make a record of that thing under certain rules and regulations, then with the complete system as such is called distributed ledger technology, and which are the main base of creating blockchain technology. As Mr. Chandak in his initial introduction briefed about the blockchain, it was developed in 2008 by Satoshi Nakamoto for cryptocurrency coins. The purpose of development was that there should not be any intermediary to see the transactions of the various transactions happening this through cryptocurrency. We call it a Bitcoin. The purpose of banking system not coming in picture. It was through self-managed group. They were operating this kind of the system to have digital currency transactions. We called it Bitcoin, and it became really very, very popular. Not only that time, it is gaining popularity day by day, and many countries are recognizing the importance of the digital currency, including India. Even the budget session also indicated something on the digital currency. The three basic philosophies on which the blockchain is working are the three P's. We call it private key cryptography, on which the security various security arrangements are to be made, wherein your transaction of your transactions from one entity to other entity should be made privately if it is required. If it is required to be open, also those can be made open. The second thing was peer-to-peer communication, because it's a set of the network which has got many nodes connected together. So there has to be a strong peer-to-peer networking system wherein all systems connected in a blockchain, connected from blockchain transactions should be in proper working conditions, should always be on, because problem at one network element may disturb the whole of the blockchain transactions as such. And then there has to be certain programs, rules, and regulations in which those transactions are to be followed, to be accessed by the individuals, and to be allowed to be uploaded. So these three P's are very, very important for establishing a blockchain technologies. Why do we need the blockchain? That's also one of the important question. Yes, with the advent of the new technologies, with the advent of the machine-to-machine communications, Internet of Things, we need to monitor the various kinds of the activities being played by different nodes of a network. These activities can be in terms of the network uh, operational protocols, operational running conditions, but may also be in terms of the use cases for various agencies, which I'll say later on, and I know many of the speakers are going to speak on those things. Blockchain as such has also gone 2, 3 exactly. If we look into, uh, it has gone through its evolution process. Till date, we call it blockchain 4 evolution has gone. Blockchain 1 evolution, that was mainly the initial invention, what was done for the cryptography and Bitcoin, followed by blockchain second generation revolution. This was, other than cryptography, Ethereum smart contract arrangement was also made as a part of the blockchain evolution 2, wherein number of digital applications on blockchain were developed. And blockchain 3 revolution, rather evolution, it is mainly the development of the DLT platform, which is very, very much prominent as on date, and many of the industries and users are using this kind of the platform. And blockchain 4 evolution is going to coincide with your industry 4.0 evolution, wherein with the it is going to merge with all kinds of the new adventures which are going to come in terms of the technology implementations, such as the 5G, AI, big data, and many other things. So blockchain is also going to be merged with that kind of thing. If we look into up to blockchain 3.0, there are many industries which have been using blockchains, and major portion of the blockchain's utilizations were confined towards the financial transactions. Thereafter, it was real estate, healthcare, education, retail business, transport, ride, Uber and Ola are also one of the things which are using blockchain. Logistic, agriculture. There are the government sectors also which are utilizing blockchain technologies. Crowdfunding. If you are going to the group funding, that the crowdfunding also utilize the blockchain technology. Cybersecurity, gaming, political systems, they also use their blockchain technology to assess their political environment, and various others, including the cryptography exchanges of the money. Yes, the blockchain, as Mr. Chandak initially pointed out, it has got very, very critical advantage over other existing technologies, such as it is tamper proof. Nobody can tamper the transactions happening through the blockchain. There are the processes, how the blocks are to be defined, how the block is to be attached in a chain, and how to retrieve those blocks, and if anything is happening in a particular block, what is going to happen. These are the technological details that will be shared by some of the speakers, or maybe understood through the various technological uh, journals and presentations. It's 100% transparent. In a blockchain group, whatever the activities are happening, this is transparent to everyone. Not everyone is authorized for every kind of the activities, but for the person what he is authorized to use blockchain, he is able to see all kinds of the transactions related to his or her domain activities, be it performed at the control level or at any other user level. And because of this transparency, it is difficult to manipulate any kind of the transactions in this process. As I told you, because evolution of the blockchain has not limited the blockchain only up to the cryptocurrencies. There are the new evolutions going on, and it will keep on going to meet the futuristic requirement, to meet the uh, uh, current processes, current new technology features, what is going to deploy in the field. Yes, a blockchain network requires a very, very stable power supply system, very, very stable and networking system, because complete transaction is distributed across the different nodes. So any node creating problem will have very, very adverse impact. So it has that all nodes, the blockchain has to be supplied with a very stable power supply system, very stable networking system. There has to be security, because the transaction access, the blocks access, and block uploading, etc., are through the security key. So the various authorized persons have to have a security code, and that should not be divulged to any third party. And almost real-time transactions are required. So the transmission speed in the network has to be very, very good, with least latency, whatever it is feasible. With the kind of a technological development, what is happening in the field, we can understand, and we can foresee that blockchain is going to be used further in the field, like forecasting, uh, artificial intelligence, sports, constructions and mining, uh, art and photography, energy management, insurance, etc., etc. Many times it was misunderstood that blockchain is going to replace certain existing technologies. It's not going to replace. It is going to support the existing technologies. Be it AI, blockchain clubbed with the AI, it is going to play a tremendous role in managing various kinds of the AI-powered apps. If we look into AR, VR, augmented reality and virtual reality, the imaging what is performed, whether we create a digital image, which one is the real digital image and which one is the copied digital image, the blockchain will be one item which will give you information. These are the original digital image and this is the copied digital image. Because without knowing the activities of the copying activities in terms of the transaction which do the copy of digital images, it is really difficult to know whether which one is the real, which one is the copied one. As I earlier discussed, Internet of Things are going to be one of the major boost through blockchain technology, and big data, which one time was supposed to be competitor of the blockchain, but big data as such is going to be benefited with the blockchain technology. And the 5G or 6G, whatever it is going to be deployed in the field, they are going to provide a very good enabler for the blockchain implementation across the various countries and globe. Cloud computing, in fact, block cloud kind of the things will also be going to be created in future. Uh, if we look into an Indian scenario, yes, uh, blockchain development is also happening in the country, but still not much regulations have been worked out, not much standards have been worked out for the various processes of the blockchain. We had already deployed blockchain, DLT technology for the UCC curbing in TRI. Ashit is there. He will be discussing those things in detail. So I'm not going to capture those things. But blockchain development as such is mainly being happening because of the startups. There are the various concerns in the industries which need to be addressed because its development is mostly being done even as on date with the new startups who want to invent this technology for the benefits of the society and for the benefits of their own business and processes. The concerns which as an administrator, as a regulator, what are to be addressed? These are mainly related to the implementation processes, regulatory issues, potential security threats, lack of in-house capabilities. We need to develop enough skills in-house so that these kind of activities can be created. You must be surprised that around 2% of the Indian startup, they are contributing towards the blockchain technology, but the overall contribution towards the blockchain in the global perspective, it is just 0.2%. 2% of the startups are contributing just 0.2%. So we have to look into, we have to provide an enabling environment for the development of these technologies. There are various other factors which, as a regulator, as an administrator, they need to address for promotion of the blockchain technology for the overall benefit of the society and nation as a whole. The digital currency, what the government of India is just announced, this is one of the major factors is going to really use the blockchain technology in the very vast way. As of now, we have got around 42% users are there with the financial insurance, and 36% users are with the information and communication, and rest are very, very few. So we see a very good potential, very good utilization for the blockchain in the coming years. And we find that the processes will be easing out with the more monitorable and those will be more transparent without involvement of any intermediaries in future. I wish this seminar very best, and I wish the country with association of all stakeholders will work hard to exploit the best features of the blockchain in coming years. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. In your keynote address, you have very well explained the blockchain technology in layman terms, the 3 P's philosophy of blockchain technology. Why do we need blockchain technologies? Evolution of blockchain technologies, various evolutions like 1, 2, and 3. Utilization of blockchain in various industries at present and future use of blockchain technologies and advantages of blockchain technologies, and you have also explained the concern to be addressed in general and as by the TRI and potential of further use of blockchain technologies. I thank you very much, sir, for sparing a valuable time to grace this occasion and deliver your keynote address. Now I request you to please open this webinar formally, sir. Please.
This webinar is very much open, and I wish all the best for the success of this webinar. At the same time, I wish the best of the discussions to happen with the all speakers who are going to follow and who are going to deliver their addresses and share their thoughts in the coming lectures. So I wish the seminar a great success and open. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Now I request my colleague Shri Manish Loda to conduct the further sessions. Shri Manish Loda. Please unmute your mic, Manish.
Thank you so much, sir. And good morning to all. My name is Manish Loda, and I am working as a joint advisor in Telecom Regulatory Authority India Regional Office in Jaipur. So, in the coming session, we will have coming 4 sessions regarding the blockchain, and I hope it would be very helpful to you all and to get knowledge about the topic. So, before starting the session, I would tell you something about the AirMeet platform and how the sessions will be conducted. So, as Manish Saxena sir has told earlier, so in AirMeet platform, there is option of asking question through chat box and by raising hands. So, the participants who are connected with laptop or desktop, they can raise their hands, and other can those who are connected through mobile can use checkbox to answer the question. After every session, we will have a we will take 1 or 2 questions on the topic, which will be addressed by the speakers. So you can raise your hand or ask the question on your chat box. So our we'll start with our first speaker. Our first speaker is Mr. Sanjay Kumar. He has a wide experience of in the telecommunication sector of 33 years. He is a ITS officer of 1986 batch and joined the Department of Telecommunication in 1989. Presently, he is working as PGM in Jaipur BA in BSNL, looking after the development, operation, and maintenance of the area. Earlier, he was working as PGM Commercial Infra Network Operation in CM in BSNL Corporate Office. He was responsible for the important functions of mobile business of BSNL during this hyper-competitive market. As a member of interministerial group, he was responsible for hiving off the tower assets of BSNL into a separate company. He was also responsible in rollout of initial mobile network of Rajasthan, in and was instrumental in planning and procurement level in circle office. Uh, Today, we are fortunate that he is here and he will deliver a lecture on blockchains and its important use cases. So I invite Mr. Sanjay Kumar to take the stage. Sir, please.
Thanks a lot, Manish, for your kind introduction. Shri Mahen Srivastav ji, chief guest of this webinar. Shri Chandak ji, I thank you for giving me an opportunity to speak on this topic and share my views, which is such a relevant topic in the today's time. And we all have been hearing about this every now and then in the newspaper, and a lot of things which are happening. It is one of the fastest emerging technology which we have. Manish, can you
Yes,
share the presentation?
yes.
Now, what benefit these blockchain can do? If we go, just go a little bit back, a little bit in the past, we see that what is required to make our life easier. Those are basically the transactions between the two persons. Earlier, if you see, if we go to the prehistoric time, the transactions were based on the barter system. So, one of the people used to grow something and the other used to grow something, and depending on the need, they used to exchange it and get their work done. Gradually, as the system evolved, there was a paper currency. If you see that every country, this being a sovereign right of every country came up with the paper currency. And here also, if you further, if you see on this, I have put 2 notes in this. One is 1 rupee note and one is 100 rupee note. The basic idea of is to relate to the digital currency which is going to come in future. If you see in the 1 rupee note, it is written Government of India and it has been signed by the finance secretary. But in the 100 rupee note, at the top it is written Reserve Bank of India, and it has been signed by the RBI governor. So that means, as far as Government of India is concerned, the legal tender for the government is issuing only 1 rupee note, but it has authorized RBI, Reserve Bank of India, to issue notes depending on the need and depending on this thing. So similar sort of arrangement which has come in this recent budget also, that India may go for its own digital currency or cryptocurrency. So some agencies can be authorized for this. The basic idea for this is that if we have in a country some valid digital currency, then that can be used to digitally transfer that particular asset, which because this is also, currency is also a type of asset. Now, next. Now, if we see what we require for the digital currency, because that is the way forward which we are going to go, and that is the basic crux. Blockchain, for the blockchain, the most of the hype is basically of the cryptocurrency. So I'll first take the currency part of it and then the other use cases. Now, if we want to have a digital currency, how can you make it? One is simple digital image. So in that case, the original or its copy, just like a simple photocopy, it can be tempered. It can be unregulated. There can be no authenticity. It cannot be traced. Anyone can easily multiply the currency. There is no trust in that. It is difficult to keep track of validity of the transaction, and security is not assured. So there is no trust, basically. To address this, IT is the solution and blockchain is one of the solution. Next. So how can we prevent the multiple copies? So for that, it is encryption. So that is the crux of basically cryptocurrency, that if we encrypt, then it cannot be easily tempered. The second thing is the traceability. Like in the opening address, the chief guest has mentioned that if we look in, if we make our own, for a layman, if we make our own Excel sheet and post something and then transmit it to n number of nodes, then you can trace it, that it has gone there and what changes it has done. So that is traceability of the ledger. Then third thing which is required is to get the authenticity. So authenticity can either be regulated by the government of India, by the government or some trusted group, or it can be a self-sustaining, which is the concept of the blockchain, that there are so many nodes. So based on the consensus mechanism, when everyone validates, the transaction gets okay. Now, once this is happening, so basically there are a group of people who are maintaining the nodes and they are validating the thing. So they are doing a certain work. So for that, there needs to be a system to incentivize those node maintainers. For that, you have a concept of crypto tokens, because anyone, if he is doing the work, he should be rewarded suitably. And then, since it is the upcoming technology, so government can also look to provide infrastructure with sandbox for these coming startups also, or these miners also, so that it can further develop. And since so much data will be there, so there has to be some system of indexing or hashing, which is the blocks basically. Next. So the ecosystem, if we see, of this blockchain is, as was told in the opening address by Chanak and Mahesh Srivastava, that it is basically based on the distributed ledger technology, DLT technology, and blockchain is just a part of it. So the whole ecosystem is that we have DLT platform, and blockchain is a subset of it. In a typical layman language, I would like to explain that you can take it as what we are doing in nowadays, a Google document which we share amongst the various person, and everyone has a right to write on that, to alter it, and that is done simultaneously, and then we have a document in which everyone has given its input basically. But the blockchain is not as simple as that, because in the case of this Google document, it is not verified. The data may not be trusted. So basically, the backbone of this blockchain is uh, the three P's which was mentioned by Mahen Srivastav ji. And I would further like to say that there are three T's also, that is trust, transparency, and traceability. So if you have these three things, then you can have proof of any work which has been done. Next. So what is basically DLT? DLT is simply a decentralized database that is managed by various participants. So it is distributed in the peer-to-peer network. There is no central authority, and it is a blockchain is a type of distributed ledger. As you can see that in a traditional system, the data is stored centrally, and everyone is contacting there. But in the blockchain, that is distributed to all the places. Next. So blockchain is basically a decentralized public database that can record transaction in a verifiable, permanent way in a trustless environment. Here the word trustless is because in other transaction which you do, you have a trust between the two party, and then only you do the transaction. But here, since it is based on the consensus mechanism, so there need not be trust between the two persons, but as a system, there is a trust. So you can say it indirectly that, that the whole system is basically trustless. You don't have to rely on anyone. The system takes care of everything. And since these things are being verified, there are miners who verify the transaction and use the consensus algorithm to agree on the state of the system, and they get rewarded or for the fee depending on the use case type. Next. These are the basic concept of the blockchain. You have a block, node, and miner. So if you see what is a block, so every chain consists of multiple blocks, and each block has three elements. One is the data, that is basically the transaction datas are there. One is hash. So basically hash is something which we can correlate with our fingerprint. So it is a unique 256-bit code which is embedded in each block, and it is unique to each block. So it is just like every person has a unique fingerprint. So every block has a unique hash, and there is a combination of a whole number which is known as ones number, and the combinations of this number and the hash creates a unique number, which is basically acts like a fingerprint for the block, and it cannot be tempered. Another safeguard which this has is the hash of the previous block. So when you make a blockchain, so the block is consisting of the series of datas, whatever the transactions that has taken place, the hash, and as an added security, the hash of the previous block. Nodes are basically peer-to-peer things. It can be our mobile phone, any laptop, or any desktop. So they are basically, as was told by Mahen Srivastav, that currently there are around 2 million nodes which are interacting with each other in the blockchain environment. And miner are basically those persons who are basically doing some work for the algorithm, and they get rewarded for that in the terms of some token. Next. So the key points basically for a blockchain is, one is cryptography. So basically, in order to have security, you should uh, uh, have hash functions and all those things which I had mentioned here. P2P network, a consensus mechanism, a ledger, and some sort of validity rules. Next. So if you see how it works, is that you have a P2P network. The participating nodes in a peer-to-peer decentralized network facilitate the transaction execution in a blockchain network. So basically, they communicate to all the nodes, and whenever there is any transaction, the requested transaction is broadcasted to the P2P network nodes. The network of nodes then validates the transaction by means of any of the consensus algorithm. So that is how the whole system works. That P2P network communicates with all uh, each other. They validate. If it is verified based on the consensus algorithm, it is verified, then that transaction is taken. Next. So, so, so that implies that when a consensus is reached among the participating node, the transaction stands validated. Once verified, the transaction is combined with other transaction to create a new block of data for that ledger. The new block is then added to the existing blockchain in a way which is immutable. So that is another property of it, that it cannot be changed. So basically in a blockchain, you have data hash, previous hash, and this is how the blockchain is formed. So that is the basic concept, how blockchain is being made and what the concept is, and how it is basically immutable, transparent, and how it can be traced. Next. Now, what ensures the blockchain security basically? Now, suppose someone wants to modify the block, then what he needs to do is, then for example, here three blocks have been shown. Now, if he wants to change the hash of the second node, then although we know that currently we have lot of computers and all this thing which have good computing powers, and they can calculate the hash very quickly. So basically what happens is, if he tries to change, if he finds out the code of this and tries to change the hash code, which is like fingerprint, which I had mentioned earlier, and he is successful in changing the hash code of this, then what will happen is that since in the following node, the the hash code of the previous node is there, so that particular node will immediately say that this is not validated. So in order to hack it, we may say hack it, or to change the whole particular transaction, that person has to change the hash codes of all following blocks. So if we see in the computing power, this is almost impossible if you have around 1 lakh nodes participating in it, because once such a permissionless particular blockchain is there, so it is very, very difficult, because it takes a finite time to change a particular hash. And there is a further concept also, especially in the case of Bitcoin, that whenever any hash code is changed, then it takes 10 minutes, at least 10 minutes to update it. It verifies everywhere, and once it verifies, both things are there, then only the proof of work is there and it is updated. So that means if there are, say, for example, 1 lakh nodes there in the system, so if you want to change the hash codes of all the nodes, you require 10 minutes for each node, because it takes 10 minutes to update. So that means that for 1 lakh node, you require almost around 10 to 15 years to change this node. So that clearly shows that how secure this particular network is. Next. So basically, blockchain is agnostic in nature, which I told, trust and traceability, which results in transparency and the proof of the work. Next. So there are two types of blockchain. One is public, another is private or permissioned. Next. So in the permissionless blockchain, you have different users who can log in to the particular blockchain. For example, in the Bitcoin environment, if I want to transact, I can log into that particular node. Then based on the public key and the private key, which was mentioned, the user can do any transaction in that particular node. So here, basically, anyone can add to this particular node. Next. But in the case of permission, basically, you require permission. There can be nodes, but without permission, you cannot log into that particular blockchain platform. So these are particularly used in case of financial institutions, or maybe certain use cases like issuing digital certificates or health records, or many of the use cases which are going to come in the future. Next. So if we compare both the permissionless and the permission blockchain, the permissionless blockchains are blockchains that require no permission to join and interact with, whereas they require permission to participate. The characteristic, the permissionless is truly decentralized, transparent, and immutable, whereas in case of permission, it is limited to private transactions, and there is an authentication process in that. The advantages of permissionless is that it is open to all, brings trust to the user, and offers high security. But the disadvantage is, since there are so many nodes, so it takes time and it takes lots of energy. So that is the disadvantage of this. And whereas the disadvantages of permission is that it is extremely fast output, scalable network, offers energy efficient. But the disadvantage is it is not truly decentralized, it is less transparent and partially immutable. The use cases typical for the permission is digital identity, voting, and of course the Bitcoin is also one of the use case of this. As far as permission, there can be n number of use cases which will come on the later. Next. This is what was mentioned in the original address also, that there are various blockchain generations. The first generation was limited to the Bitcoin thing. In that, basically, a person was mining. What was being done is that a certain set of algorithm was written. We can compare it to basically the internet, which had come in the first phase. In the first case, there were now some players which were writing on the HTML platform and giving the information to the internet. So as a user, I was able to access that information, but I was not able to contribute anything on that. So in case of Bitcoin also, a person could mine it, but he was not able to as such contribute on that thing, or basically write on it. The record was only basically of transactions between the two persons which were kept here. In 2.0, basically, which was mentioned, Ethereum platform came, and in that there was a concept that certain codes can be written and there can be contracts between the two persons. So that evolved from a simple exchange mechanism, which was in the case of Bitcoin, that the assets were being exchanged, to a certain contract between the two persons in which certain things could happen depending on the events, basically. And Web3 and Web4, which is now the maturity stage, is basically the industry 4.0, blockchain, artificial intelligence, and IoT, which is the future which all we are going to see. Next. So this is a typical example of the first generation blockchain, for which the use case is cryptocurrency. Next. So basically, if you see the basic concept of Bitcoin, it is a decentralized digital currency which was created in 2009 by Satoshi Nakamoto. Today, all Bitcoins in existence are worth $1.2 trillion. and it can be traded for real cash at online exchanges, and there can be cross-border exchanges also. And this has also gradually evolved. If you see in 2010, the value of one Bitcoin was made at par with $1. And if you remember the famous first transaction which happened in the form of Bitcoin, which is available in the net also, the person had bought, I think, one pizza for as much as 10,000 Bitcoins. And there's a mail exchange also, and that 10,000 Bitcoins is today worth 80 millions. So that is how the things are changing. Next. These are the second generation blockchain in which we are able to write also, that their only transaction was possible. Next. So here, basically, the typical use case can be smart contracts. These type of contracts are basically self-executing ones, where terms and condition among peers is pre-decided. The terms and condition of smart contracts are written on a code and executed on blockchain based on decentralized platform. Next. So this is something, basically, if you can see, some certain codes are written, and if certain events happen, then that particular transaction will take place. We can take a typical example. For example, we go on flight from one place to another place, and we do an insurance with a company that if the flight is late for, say, more than 2 hours or more than 3 hours, then I will get so much of refund. So in this case, if this particular contract is there and that is structured in this particular thing, then what can happen is, on a real time, is that in case the flight is actually late, and that is fed on the system, the refund will automatically be triggered and it will come to you. You will not be required to put your claim and all those things. So that basically saves the human intervention and saves the time, which is the main essence of this blockchain technology. Next. So these are basic, the concept peer-to-peer, how the contract is written and is being executed. Next. So basically the second generation, this was on Ethereum project in which one could write also. So basically on the platform, which combines the traditional blockchain with one key difference, that it could be executed on the computer code also. Next. So basically the use case typically of the second generation is that there is transparency, the targets trustworthy, and at least this thing replacement of, so it is the basic use case is that it is replacing the legal contract, especially across jurisdiction. For example, if we see we make a contract between the two parties, that for example you supply this particular thing, and if it is supplied timely, then the payment will automatically be released. Currently the system for this is that he has to put the claim, he has to give the invoice, and then the payment is released. Or in case you don't have trust, then you involve a bank. There is a concept of letter of credit. A letter of credit is uh, issued by the company which is purchasing, and once the particular event has happened, the bank releases the payment. But in this case, there is no intermediary, and based on the codes or based on the contract which is written on the particular code in the blockchain, the events are triggered and that takes place. But the disadvantage here is that in the real world, basically, once you write the code, and as we had already said, that this particular blockchain is immutable also. So if you want to change any condition in this, then you have to again write the code or have an addendum sort of thing. So that is one of the disadvantage for which work are going, that how this can be done, or how certain errors, or how in the case of force majeure things can be taken care of uh, by these things. Next. So these are the benefits which blockchain it saves time because the intermediary is removes that cost of intermediary, reduces the risk because you don't require a trust. It is the system itself has a trust basically. So that is the whole benefit of the blockchain, that it is saving time, it removes the overheads, reduces the risk, and increases the trust. Next, the potential uh, uh, applications which can be done are n number. Cryptocurrency is just 10% of it. You can have it for financial inclusion, trade, finance, banking, crowdfunding, insurance, sharing economy, Internet of Things, real estate, healthcare, supply chain, IT. These are the potential applications for which Indian government have started working also and have made many incubation centers, in which I'm told that there are more than around 500 startups which are doing the work and which are being supported by various wings of the mighty. Next. One of the use case which has recently happened uh, practically in collaboration with IIT Kanpur was the digital certificates which were issued, if you all remember, in the convocation in the IIT Kanpur by Honorable Prime Minister recently. So basically, the main feature of these digital certificates that they are temper proof, it can be globally verified, it can be selectively disclosable, and it can be selective to the user content. So basically you issue that particular thing to the person. If and if when you give that certificate to someone, maybe when you go for the employment and he wants to verify, then using the private and public key, it can be verified on the tips. These digital certificates, you don't need to write a letter or verify with the central agencies. That can be done through the system as a whole. Next. This has been done also recently. The Prime Minister has given Rashtriya Bal Puraskar through the digital certificates to the blog, which was also developed by the IIT Kanpur. So these certificates were also given to the children through the digital platform, and that is the blockchain. Next. That is what I have mentioned, that in the 54th convocation IIT Kanpur also these certificates have been given. Next. This is a typical diagram how it is worked. If you see, IIT Kanpur has issued the digital degrees to the student, and that has been uploaded to the blockchain. Now, if you present that as a proof to your potential employers, they can directly verify it using the blockchain. So there is no need of any intermediary. You just have to have the public and the private key, and it can be verified instantaneously. Next. Another important application which has actually happened in government of Karnataka is the Kaveri blockchain property registration. Real estate is one of the sector where you see there are a lot of frauds which are happening. There are cases of double pattas being issued. There are cases of trust deficiencies when someone sells a particular land to someone, and through an intermediary, the intermediary runs away. So there are many trust deficits in these particular deals, real estate. This particular blockchain technology can be a disruptor in the real estate dealings. Next. Now, if you see here, what has happened is that they have made a structure in which a person can log in, and all these particular land pattas have been digitalized, and a smart card has been this is under the pilot project which is happening there, and a smart card has been issued to each patta holder or the land holder. This smart card contains a small chip which has a private key, and the sub registrar office, he has the public key. When these two keys meet, then you can automatically retrieve that particular patta from the central repository. So here basically, once it is fed in the system, unless there is a combination of the person who is having the smart card and the sub registrar, just like we have in the case of banks, in the case of locker, there are two keys. And when the two keys, my own key and the key which the manager of the bank have, they both are put, then only the locker can be opened. Here also, the data can be accessed of that land record with these two keys only. So in case of any transaction which has to be done, for example, now this person wants to sell it to some other person, then he just goes there, gives his particular smart card with the help of both the keys. And if they decide, for example, that I want to sell it to him, the person who wants to buy can immediately verify that he had this land, this is a valid land. He pays to him, and that land is then transferred to that person, and then another person is then issued the smart card, and the patta is transferred in his name almost instantaneously. And this person in his smart card, the record comes that it has been sold. So in case if it is implemented at a large scale, I think a lot of problems which is happening in this particular area can be sorted out. You all remember in Rajasthan that we had a drive of patta by Honorable Chief Minister, but it was not very successful because of many reasons. But if we have this sort of technology, this can all be done almost on the tips. And this is the future which is going to happen maybe 3 years down the line, 4 years, 5 years down the line. Next. So this is basically how real estate dealing can be done, which I've already told. Next. These are some of the use cases of the blockchain in the telecom sector. SMS is of course there. I'm not touching it because the following speakers are taking it. But I would like to say that what are happening is basically in our sector, the customer onboarding is now almost, for example, in the mobile segment, the DKYC, EKYC. This is all based on that particular technology, and this can further be improved using this particular blockchain. Even if we go a little bit further, for example, if we have a contract with some enterprise customer that I will give you this much service assurance or service delivery, and these are the penalties, both can enter into a smart contract. And depending on what service quality I have given, a smart contract can be written. The penalties will be automatically be calculated, and the contract will be executed, and the payment will also come automatically from that person that this much is due and this much is paid. So just imagine the amount of manpower which we'll be saving in this. Right now, if one person compiles this particular thing, there is a third party a person who verifies everything. But in case we have some sort of structure like this in a blockchain technology, then these things can be taken automatically, and there will be a lot of saving in this. Similar things can be on billing payment, the network element maintenance contracts which we have with the vendors, and onboarding of vendor partners and franchises. This has really happened in BSNL setup. The franchisee management system which we have made is almost using the blockchain technology. Any new franchisee which is onboarded in this particular platform. A code is created for that, and whatever activity happens, that transactions are captured, and automatically, depending on the work which he has done, the incentive which he has to get is calculated, the invoice is automatically generated, and the amount is transferred in his wallet. So that has led to a lot of convenience, and it is one of the success stories in the BSNL that how FTTH penetration has happened. Next. Every technology which comes has the challenges also. One main challenge is the scalability and the transaction speed. If we see for the first case, the first generation thing where the transactions are happening, the transaction rate is around 7 transactions per second, and the maximum which has been achieved till date in the blockchain is limited to around 3,500 transactions per second. Now, if you imagine the type of transactions which are happening in the real world, maybe the UPI thing or maybe the transaction Paytm, they require lot of transaction speed. For example, we see the UPI thing, there are around 1 lakh transactions per second. Even in the social media, the transactions on Facebook, they vary from 1.5 lakh to 2 lakhs transactions per second. So when so much transactions are required, the technology or some real work has to be done to make this particular blockchain thing scalable. The second issue is the security analysis. Once you have a sort of a digital currency and it can be transferred to the cross borders, then there are security issues related to that also, which government has shown the concerns also, which could be anti-money laundering or which can be counter-terrorism. So these are the security which is related to the country. Second, the security aspect is, since it is since it is an evolving technology, there could be many vulnerabilities in that, which with the experience, some database has to be made, which has to be shared so that corrective action can be taken on that. We have told that it is basically transparent, trustworthy, and but in any technology, there can be certain deficiencies for which regular audits has to be done and corrective actions has to be taken. The third very important thing, which is the data security and privacy. Every country has a rule on data privacy. Now, in this case, if we see, the obvious question which should come in the mind of everyone is that since the data is distributed to all the nodes, how my data is secured or how the privacy of that is maintained. So basically for that also certain architecture for that has to be done. For example, where the private data is there, then we have to have a system in which, because in this case what happens is that there is no owner of the data. The data is distributed to everyone. And for privacy, there has to be one person responsible for the ownership of the data who can be made accountable. For example, if we see our Aadhaar data, it is stored with UIDA and they are responsible for its privacy. Now, if you want to have a blockchain sort of technology in this, then certain sort of arrangement is to be done that we have these private ownership, private data in a separate server, and in the blockchain technology, we put certain indexing or linking with the private data. So here we are limiting, for example, I want to access the data of Mr. X. So that is linked to the central server and it only points here. So the data which is shared between the peer-to-peer nodes is only the indexing data. So some sort of that mechanism has to be done so that the data privacy is maintained in this context. Second important thing is in this particular thing is what we have mentioned is in the blockchain technology that it is immutable. It cannot be changed. Now, in the case of personal data or private data, there is a concept like right to be forgotten. The data needs to be erased also. So here also some sort of work has to be done that how the data which has come can be erased. So that sort of thing work has also to be done. Of course, because there are so many blockchain platforms which has popped up, around 6,000 or blockchain platforms are there. So interoperability issues will be there, which has to be taken care of. The regulatory aspects of each country has to be taken up. And the main important thing is that we have to ultimately develop the skilled manpower. Next. This is basically the government has the importance of the blockchain technology has been appreciated by the government, and they have recently come out with the national blockchain strategy, which has been released in the month of December. And in this budget also, although still cryptocurrency has not been made legal in our country, but it is not illegal also, because government has proposed a tax on the capital gains of the cryptocurrency and even 1% TDS. So that indirectly means that they have accepted that this is the technology which is going to stay. And under this, they have made the whole national uh, blockchain framework, in which, if you see, there are regional nodes at north, south, east, and west, and there are various layers. For example, property chain, health chain, smart city chain, education chain, insurance chain, and other chains. So these are all the use cases basically. Then there are platform layer, smart contract layer, assets layer, cross application layer, and that is ultimately linked to the eSync, the digilockers, and Aadhaar and e-Praman Patra. So this is basically the whole ecosystem which government has appreciated and made a national blockchain framework. Next. In the recent Republic Day parade also, this was, if we see that जो एक झांकी थी उसके अंदर, this has been recognized also, and it was Vedas to Metaverse, which is the version 3 of it. So that shows that government is serious about it and recognize it as a platform. Next. So basically, in a nutshell, if we take, blockchain has the benefit of internet with enhanced level of security and trust for the business. Seeing the growth of increase in the blockchain adoption globally, Indian policymakers to have taken the cognizance and the potential of it. The government is evaluating this technology for application in e-governance, and the public sectors can take advantage of this technology and leapfrog into the new era of digital management. So this is the change which we envisage, and this change is going to come in the near future. We have to keep abreast with the technology. We all appreciate that change is the only permanent thing which happens, and this change is going to come. The sooner we adopt it, the better it is. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for the appropriate start to this webinar, sir. What could be better than this? As you have explained this complex topic of blockchain and its functions with their use cases in a very simplified manner. We are very thankful to you. Thank you so much, sir. Now we will take one or two questions for Sanjay Kumar, sir. So you can raise your hands or type the questions in question and answer tab. So,
sir, one raised hand is there, sir. Madam Bhavna Saini.
Bhavna Saini, sir. Yeah, Miss Saini, you can ask your question.
Yeah. Good morning, sir. Okay, sir. I'm the beginner to this technology. Am I audible, sir?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, we can hear you, please.
Okay. Thank you, sir. So, sir, I'm a beginner to this blockchain technology field. The example which you told us now regarding that patta and a smart card, I have one doubt that at the initial level, who will be the approver of this one? Like we have made a blockchain parts, okay, everything will be saved in that blockchain and will be transparent. But at the initial level, how this process will happen? Like the approval, the request of that person, and uh, I hope my question is clear.
It is a very good question. So
Yeah.
basically, in any case of digitization which has to happen, the first stage is how do you digitize your records. So basically, the first point will be whosoever is the registrar or sub-registrar, he has the whole record. See what is the basic issue. Today also we have the records with us. But what happens is, in case there is some malified intent, then those records get tampered with, and that is the whole source of problem and corruption. So
Yes.
once you digitize it and link it to the blockchain, then that record becomes permanent. So initially, of course, at the first stage, it has to be done with the help of the sub registrar or the land registrar office. But once it is done and a person has the smart code, then no one can change it unless he requests it or he uses his private key.
Okay. Sir, one more question regarding this also. Like nowadays, we can see that there are number of court cases of this land. We can see illegally. Like there are number of pattas for same land. There are number of people which are claiming that this land belong to them. Then in that case, will this structure be fruitful? Because there are number of court cases which are running.
So basically, in that case, till the matter is sub judice, no one can do anything unless the court decides. But this thing is for sure that if you have verified a record and once it is issued, then no one can temper it. So
So
that
it
is the
will
only advantage. But whatever court cases or whatever legal cases are going, till that is settled, the technology cannot do anything.
So it will be appended in the blockchain, right?
Correct. Correct. It will be later on. But these basically at this stage, these are all being done at a pilot stage.
Okay.
And one limitation which I told was in the current blockchain scenario is the scalability issue. So these are also being looked into. IIT Kanpur is doing a lot of good work in that. And I think in times to come, this whole thing will become a reality. What I foresee is that another 3 to 5 years, there will be a lot of things and it will make our life much, much easier.
Okay. Okay. Thanks, sir.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Sir, we have one question in chat box, sir, from Alok Tyagi from BSNL. He's asking how we are organizing P2P network in blockchain environment.
How we are
organizing P2P network in blockchain environment.
Basically, if you see the peer to what are basically nodes? Nodes are nothing. It could be anything, your laptop, your computer, my mobile. Anyone can join a permissionless nodes. So, if for example, if you have interest in this, just go to the particular website that you want to mine Bitcoin. You'll get a number of things which will prompt you to join as a node. So basically in that, and once you join as a node, you become a part of that particular node, and whatever information basically then flows to all the nodes. So basically, what I told in my earlier presentation was that there are two type of blockchains. One is permissionless and one is permission. In case of permissionless, anyone can join it, and any nodes which is there, the information is any transaction which happens, that is transmitted to all the nodes. But in case of permissioned, it will be limited to that trusted source only.
Sir, one last question is from Anurag Prakash from BSNL. What roles is expected to be provided by the TSPs in India and how they will be affected or benefited by the blockchain?
Now, of course, TSP is going to be one use case which has already been implemented is the DLT platform on for SMS, which has you don't now get spurious SMS. Now, another things which I have already mentioned was vendor onboarding, customer onboarding with your things. All these sort of activities. See, any system becomes efficient when human intervention is removed. The system becomes fast, the system becomes more efficient. So with this particular technology, what you are doing at the end of the day is that you are removing the human intervention. So once this intervention is removed, the system will become efficient. So that is how it is going to help not only TSP but all the organizations as a whole.
Sir, our coming lectures are also dealing with these topics only, roles of blockchain in telecom. So we'll discuss it further, sir. So thank you so much for your time and delivering such a beautiful lecture. And it was so simple that I think that our participant must have benefited from it. So thank you so much, sir, for coming and delivering this lecture. So
Thank you very much.
thank you. So we'll move further. Our second speaker is Shri Asit Kadian, who is working as advisor quality of service CA and IT in TRAI headquarters. He belongs to Indian Telecom Service of the Department of Telecom and have an experience of more than 27 years in the telecom sector. For the last 5 years, he is associated with Trai and is responsible for the quality of service issues in mobile and fixed line networks. He is also instrumental in the regulations which Trai have issued regarding the net neutrality and OTT related issues. Before joining Trai, he was involved with training center at DOT and was responsible for providing the trainings in advanced wireless technology areas. He has also played an important role in defining the standards and application standards and specification in mobile communication area in national and international level. He is instrumental in also the regulation which Trai have issued regard to curb the spam messages. And Trai, for the first time in this regulation, has used blockchain technology to do so. So I would request Shri Kadian to enrich us about his experiences and what Trai have done, sir. Thank you so much, sir, for coming here, sir. Please, sir, you are invited to the stage, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Manish. And thanks a lot to Sanjay Kumar sir for creating that foundation which will be helpful for me to understand how this DLT platform works in case of the SMS spams. So good morning to all. Good morning to Principal Advisor Sir, Chandak Sir, and other dignitaries on the dais. I will share my screen. Is it visible?
Yes, sir, it is visible, sir.
So presentation is visible?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir, it is visible.
So my topic is how blockchain technology is being used to curb spam, and this topic is touches everybody, and people may or may not be satisfied with the way spam is being controlled or curbed as of now. But blockchain has helped us, and we will be deploying supplementary technologies to make it more effective. And I will tell you where are the points where we need to improve and bring the efficacy of this technology and achieve the end objective. So why this spam is controlled by telcos when means they are not the persons who are originating it. It is being originated by some marketeers. Because this task was assigned to telcos in India. In other countries, there are acts for counteracting against spam, and these marketing agencies are directly responsible. In India, we are controlling this via license of telecom service providers. So telecom service providers were asked to take some initiatives and deploy some tools and methods to curb the spam. So earlier, there was a methodology that a database will be created at a TRI level, and all the marketeers will be required to get registered. And that database where preferences are stored, whether the recipient is interested in receiving such communication, commercial communication messages or calls or not. And those preferences are required to be honored when somebody is trying to make calls or trying to send the SMS. But over a period, we found that it was not that effective, and it was being misused or abused. Though we have taken strict actions against the entities who are sending these commercial communications without getting registered, and in that case we have disconnected more than 14 lakh connections over a period of time. And even then these spammers were able to get new SIMs and send commercial communications at their will. So when we analyzed this issue, we found that there are number of layers through which this is passing, and it is not a direct connectivity between the telco and the principal entity or a sender that it is being submitted. So there are primarily two channels. One is that registered telemarketer channel, where senders or principal entities are required to get registered, and there is another channel which is called unregistered telemarketer register, that is called UTM. So RTM and UTM. RTM are the registered entities, and they are required to follow certain rules and regulations and scrub against the database and then only send the SMS. While unregistered telemarketer may be any 10-digit number through which they can send, and it is more challenging because we are not looking into the content, what is being sent, and we are more we have to rely on the complaints. So we are not very sure that what was sent. So if number of people are complaining against a person, and we are verifying that yes, they have called that person or they have sent messages to that person, and on the basis of that, action is being taken. So I will differentiate between UTM and RTM. UTM efficacy in controlling of UTM is related to the detect systems and the intelligence systems, and in case of RTM, blockchain technology is used. So for UTM as such, blockchain is not utilized to that extent. Though it is utilized, I will come to the point to what extent it is being utilized. So normal message, how it goes. So if a sender of message sends a message to the recipient, it passes through a telecom service providers, and telecom service providers doesn't peek into that content of the message, or whenever somebody is making a call from a caller side to the called party, we are not aware what is being communicated. We are not aware about the content of communication. So it is a normal message or a normal call where telcos don't take any action. They assume that this is a P2P call, and it is not a commercial communication call until and unless complaint is being made and that is being investigated. In case of bulk message, regulation requires that all senders will get registered with the telco. They can get registered with any telcos, and at that time, their identities or KYC and other details will be captured, for what purpose they are getting registered, and their phone numbers, addresses, and other things are considered at the time of KYC of these entities. And these entities can send message to the recipient, but they are required to follow certain rules and regulations, and telcos are required to check whether they are complying to those provisions or not. So they will look into the message, that what type of message is being sent and whether it matches with the interest area of the recipient. So telcos have to perform certain functions and try to take actions that it matches with the interest area of the recipient. But recipient has expressed his or her interest area, and that is captured. So there are two ways. One way is that recipient can register under a preference category, and there are few categories, and they can express whether they are interested in any particular type of uh, messages, or they are not interested in any type of commercial communications. So that is a preference registration. Second aspect is related to the consent. So though in general I have expressed that I am not willing for any kind of commercial communication, but I go to the shop or I go to any business entity, uh, for example, real estate or a shop or a stop or anybody, Chroma, and I convey to Chroma or I convey to Amazon that okay, you can send a message to me or you can call to me because I am interested in your products or I am looking for your services. So that is a consent. So in general, people will not be able to make a call or send a SMS to that particular recipient, but a particular entity who has acquired consent can make a call or can send a SMS. But where this consent will be recorded, where this preference will be recorded, how senders can capture this consent, and how that can be honored, because this call or SMS may pass through multiple entities. It is not a one-to-one relationship. There are layers. So even there are multiple marketeers and aggregators networks in between, or there may be a multiple telecom service providers. So if a person is a subscriber of Airtel, it may happen that call is coming through Geo and then to Airtel, and the sender is connected with Geo, and then Geo is passing on this call to the Airtel. So there may be a multiple operators, there may be a multiple entities, and in this web of networks, how to uh, honor the consents and how to honor the preference, that was a challenging task. So what is required to be checked? One is that purpose, that sender is registered, an identity is given, and how to check the content, that what is being passed through, how we can check it in a preventive or a preventive manner. So what we have mentioned in the regulation, that these senders or principal entities will get registered their content template. Means it is a skeleton of content where some part is static, some part is dynamic or a variable, and they will get it registered. Once they are registered with that, then it will be compared. So whenever somebody will send RTM will send a content, that will be compared with the registered template. So some homework has been done, that which type of content will be sent and what will be the category, whether this category will match to the interest area. That homework is done and that is recorded on a platform. And preference is also registered, that if person is interested in a particular type of communication, or he or she is not interested in any type of commercial communications, only transactional messages should be sent to him or her, not other kinds of messages. So that is also recorded. So preference, consent, content templates, and senders, these are registered on a platform. For example, this slide mentions that, for example, sender identity, what is presented to a customer may be a Pizza Hut, or it may be a AD, means Airtel Daily Pizza Hut. So it may be allocated to Pizza Hut, and there may be some alphanumeric key strings which may be assigned to the principal entity identity, and they can get registered a particular content template, which is illustrated in the bottom part of this slide. That thanks for choosing Pizza Hut. We will deliver your order hot and fresh in so many minutes. And order details, amount rupees this, order number this, track your order this. So this template has a part which is static, and it has a part which is shown in the angled brackets and in color, and that may be a variable. So any content template is composed of a static and a variable components, and a particular content template is given an identity. So whenever sender will submit a message, a identity will be there, his own identity and content template identity, and that will be submitted. And telcos will be required to scrub, not against the preference or consent, but they are also required to scrub against the content templates, that whatever they will be sending, they will be adhering to this template only. So where DLT comes into the picture, it is that sender doesn't send directly to the telcos. Between sender and telco, there is a web of telemarketers. So sender will get connectivity with particular registered telemarketer, and registered telemarketer may be the telemarketer which is directly connected to the telco, or it may not. It may be a intermediary. Means one telemarketer may get connected to the another telemarketer, and finally a telemarketer may get connected to a telco. But this telco may not be the telco to whom subscriber belongs to. So there may be a originating access provider and there may be a terminating access provider. For example, Reliance Jio may be a originating access provider and Airtel may be a terminating access provider. So there may be a OAP, there may be a TAP. So it passes, the message or a call passes through number of entities. And if we require that they should honor the regulations and they should honor the interest areas expressed by the recipients, then there should be some system where they can apply these check and they can store those preferences, and that can be done in a robust manner. And what Sanjay sir mentioned in his presentation, that DLT provides you immutability, and when we say immutability, means it is a temper proof. It cannot be modified easily, and so people sorry. So if it is registered, it is tamper proof, and second, that database is available to others as well. So if consent has been recorded by Vodafone Idea, then consent will be available that can be read or scrubbed by other telcos as well, through which this is passing, the message is passing, or commercial communication is passing. So that distribution, for distributing the ledger and for keeping it in a tamper-proof manner, there is a role of DLT, because there are number of entities who will be applying these checks. And the record keeping or recording of the consent and the preference can be done by a different entity, and delivery of the commercial communication may pass through other entities. So that may happen, and for that purpose they need to create a system where they can share this information, and the information should be accessible, but at the same time it should not be modified in an unauthorized manner. So this DLT system has a header registers. So all the inventory of the related to header is maintained, and it has a content template registers, and it also has preference related registrations with the DLT systems, and all those are considered when this commercial communication is passed. And in practice, sender is not hooked to a particular registered telemarketer. From time to time, or for other load sharing and other purposes, they can have a connectivity with multiple telemarketers. So they are not binded with particular telemarketer. So some messages may come from one RTM, other messages may go pass through other part of the network. So it is a distributed, or traffic may be flowing or taking different routes, and we should have an ecosystem where whatever route it takes, we should be able to apply those checks. And even when there are multiple telcos through which it can enter into the telcos world. So Airtel subscribers traffic may enter through the Reliance Jio or a Vodafone Idea or a BSNL or QTL or VIMPL. There may be a multiple options through which it can come, and whatever route it takes, we should be able to get the details of the interest areas or preference and the consent, and we should be able to apply those checks and where a DLT system is applied. So towards end, DLT itself is not adequate. Means DLT is an essential and the most important element when we are recording consents and preferences, or we are record keeping the actions taken by the telcos, whether they have scrubbed or not. But means we cannot rely on DLT itself cannot be adequate enough, as Sanjay sir has also mentioned, that it is not a truth. Means whatever was recorded, it is being checked against that, but it may not be truth. So what is required is that whenever we want to control or curb the spam, we have to depend upon DLT, but we have to deploy few more technologies like artificial intelligence and machine learning algorithms to detect spammers or do the content categorization. So what is happening? We do content categorization in 8 parts, in 8 areas, but it may not be good enough. Means suppose banking is a category, and somebody mentions that he is interested in bank related commercial communications, but it should not mean that he is interested in all types of commercial communications. He may be interested in home loans but not in the car loans, or he may be interested in only in particular set of banks, not in all types of banks. And in case of real estate, one may be interested only in properties which are in the vicinity of a particular city, for example Delhi NCR, not in other mega cities or in other parts of the country. Or one may be interested in properties which falls in a particular bracket, not all kinds of properties. So people have more refined choices. So content, even in the content categorization, when we have a broader categories, and it becomes difficult. Becomes difficult to match with the interest area of the recipient, and there are gaps. So what is assumed by the principal entities and what is expressed by the recipient, there is a gap. And that gap means whatever technology you deploy or ecosystem you deploy, if we are not able to discover the area in which recipient is interested and the categorization of the content or categorization of the commercial communication, and which can be closely matched. So we are asking telcos to use AI/ML to clean up and to refine all the database, whether it is a content or a preference or a consent. So they are working on it, and this languages may be used for translating templates into another language. So if we want to deploy vernacular languages, so once template is registered or approved in English, quickly its translated versions can also be approved, where it can work. And if somebody makes a complaint, sometimes it is quite surprising that why complaint has been made. For example, we see that people have complained against the alerts sent by the pollution under control certificate agencies, pollution boards, that your certificate is likely to be expired. Please get new certificate. So they are alerting, but people are complaining. No, it is a spam. And there are numerous examples where means it is prima facie it is difficult to figure out why somebody has complained. So if somebody is reminding about the outstanding bills and people are complaining against that, prima facie it looks that it was a genuine call. But if people are complaining, they are complaining by mistake. Maybe because they are using dual SIMs. If message was received on a particular number and they have initiated a call through another number, or made a complaint through another number, or there may be other reasons where this or they have picked a message or call details incorrectly and submitted the complaints. So this AIML helps to understand because it is a voluminous data, and daily we are receiving volumes of complaints and volumes of content categories. So we can understand in a better way and a quicker way and closely match. And if we will be able to closely match, at least for the registered telemarketers, if we will be able to quickly apply those criterias and match the interest areas. But AIML is also useful for detecting spammers from unregistered telemarketer channels, UTMs, because spammers are operating from a particular area. They have a particular kind of profile, but when you look into more details, there may be some privacy related issues. So if AIML is combined with blockchain, and you can do many things where you are not invading privacy, and you are aggregating the data, you are anonymizing data, but at the same time you are doing some intelligence to identify the patterns, or when you are sure that these may be spammers, then you go into the detail. Hashing algorithms may also be useful because as we have discussed with banks that there may be some fraud related SMS, and those fraudsters means that is not as part of this regulation, but this platform and the tools and technologies can help to identify scammers as well. And we can have mechanism where we are not invading privacy, and at that same time we are able to determine in a more more accurate manner that these are the fraudsters. For example, if banks and telcos, they want to exchange the locations from where transaction is happening or from where the customer is, that may be some issue. There may be some issue when we are exchanging. But there may be techniques where we are not exchanging locations, but we are able to determine that it is transaction is not happening from the same place where the customer is, and it can be prevented, or it can be stopped, or it can be put on hold. So there may be mechanism. As Sanjay sir also touched, smart contracts. These smart contracts can pass into the chain and can be applied in different layers. And if you set the criteria that if you are violating these regulations, immediately you will be throttled or you will be disconnected, because you have entered into the agreement, and that agreement will apply. So quickly you can plug the holes or control if something is happening in a particular spot or through a particular channel, and those can be done. So that was all from my side, and I am ready to answer the questions. Yes, Manish.
Yeah, thank you so much, sir, for such a wonderful lecture. And the use of blockchain in curbing the spam messages has been very effective, and we are very grateful to you that you have spared your time and come here. I will, if anybody has questions, they may raise their hand and or write them in their chat box. Sir, there is one question from Mr. Gauri Shankar Kesarwani, Director DD. His question is, there are two types of blockchain, public blockchain and private blockchain. What is your question? In which type of blockchain is being used in spam, curbing the spam messages?
It is a private and permission blockchain.
Okay.
So only telcos, right now telcos are participating in it. And in future, there may be some lawful enforcement agencies or other regulators and other identified entities which may directly participate and can take a note. But it is a private and permission blockchain.
Sir, he is further asking then how the consensus is used.
So because there are limited players and we know them, we know them that they are license holders. We have identified them. We are using raft consensus. So the raft-based consensus is being used, but mainly for many purposes, you know the persons, and they are not anybody. They are license holders of the telecom. So at the moment, we are using raft consensus, but we have planned to allow participation of many other entities for various kinds of other things that where consensus may be required, and other consensus protocol may be required to be deployed.
Any more questions? So I think there are no more questions, sir. So thank you so much for sparing your time and coming to this webinar, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
We will move further. Our third lecture is on blockchain for 5G and beyond. We have with us Dr. Ramesh Babu Batula, who works as an assistant professor in Department of Computer Science and Engineering in Malviya National Institute of Technology at Jaipur. He has received his PhD in Computer Science Engineering from MNIT Jaipur, MTech from IIT Guwahati, and BTech from Acharya Nagarjuna University. His work focuses specifically on secure communication, computer security, intelligent communication, and networks like 5G and beyond, IOV, etc. He is a life member of ACM Communication, a member of IEEE, Times, IENG, etc. He has authored many research articles in reputed journals like IEEE, IET, ACM, Elsevier, Springer, etc. He received many research-funded projects from DST, MIT, etc., and consultation projects also. I invite Dr. Batula to please deliver his lecture on blockchain for 5G and beyond. Sir, please, you are invited.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Just I'm sharing my screen. I think, is it my slides are visible to all of you?
No, sir. We are not able to see it.
Now it's visible, sir. Now it's visible.
Now it is come, sir. Now it is come, sir.
1 minute. Yeah, slides are visible now?
Yes, yes.
Yes, sir.
Right. So most of the participants, I think they already know about blockchain. I would like to give a small introduction to why blockchain is required and how blockchain is going to be useful in our lives, how blockchain is going to be a disruptive technology for the coming generations. This is my topic, and I would like to introduce to you first what the problem where it started actually. The problem where it started means like a computer security has so many problems. Why? Because we have lots of buggy softwares. Means always we are working with so many protocols and lot of softwares are associated with that particular protocols.
Excuse me, just a minute. Your screen has gone again. Please.
Yeah, what happens?
Your screen is not visible now.
Why it's so like that? Okay, again I'm sharing. Yeah, now is it visible?
No, sir. No, not yet.
Yes, yes.
Now,
Now
now visible.
Visible, no?
yeah.
Yeah. Right. So lots of buggy softwares are there. That's why computer security problem is always going to be a bigger problem. The second point is going to be the social engineering is very effective. Means social engineering in the sense here, all social media applications are going to become under over here. The most of the countries are facing a lot of problem related to the social engineering, as well as most of the users also going to be facing the problem. Why? Their data theft, and as well as their data is going to be used for some malicious users. That's why. And
Sir,
another
sorry.
thing is going to be
Sir, your screen is again not visible.
Sir, what we'll do, we'll run your presentation from our side.
One minute, sir. Why it's so like that? I'm just okay. I shared my full screen also.
No issues, sir. We'll run the presentation from our side. You
just a minute, sir. Then I will share my latest updated presentation to you in the mail.
Again, you are setting.
Only one slide I modified. Okay, that's why that is important slide for me. So just I'm sharing that slide with you. Just 1 minute. Check it, sir, in the mail. I forwarded.
I'm still waiting. It's not yet received. You have sent on GOV mail, na?
Yeah. Same mail.
Right,
Same mail I forwarded, sir. Will receive?
No, not yet.
Just
you can continue, and one suggestion is there that
once it will receive, you may share the screen, sir. I will start my session. Huh? If it may discontinue, then you may start to share the screen.
By the meantime, you start with your presentation. Actually, don't go on full screen.
Okay, that is the problem then.
Don't go on for full.
Right. Thank you. So this is the slide which we are discussing at this place. The computer security problem. Lots of buggy softwares are there. Social engineering is very effective. You might know Donald Trump won in his elections with help of social engineering and its information only. He manipulated the American citizens. That that is a well-known fact to everyone. And this social media is very effective to that means decide the governments also. That much of impact is there on this particular social media. And you might know deep fake mechanism. They are going to be change the audio video of a particular person, and they're going to be send that propagate that information to the social media. That is a major problem in this. And third one is going to the money can be made from finding and exploiting vulnerabilities. This is a big problem. Is there big problem?
Sir, again your screen is not visible. You kindly send it on Gmail, sir. Immediately.
I forwarded, sir. Okay, just you check. Otherwise, okay. Just a minute.
You try Jaipur@gmail.com.
Sir,
sir, I forwarded again. Okay, Trai.
TRAI Jaipur.
Jaipur@gmail.com. Okay, sir.
Or is there your earlier presentation that you have shared yesterday is with me whether
Yeah, just a minute, sir. Okay, we will find. Otherwise, okay, just you need to be share the previous presentation. Received email, sir?
not yet. Neither on GOV nor on Gmail.
Amit Prakash, check in your spam also. Maybe there.
Yesterday, sir, I received in direct mail. Not in spam also.
It might be delayed.
1 minute, sir. 1 minute. In Gmail it's received, sir. 1 minute.
Okay, right. Thank you.
Let me download it. Okay.
Go to the first slide, sir. Right here, okay, we discussed about the lots of buggy software. Social engineering is very effective. Money can be made from finding and exploiting the vulnerabilities. Go to the next slide. Yeah, go to the next slide. Right here, you will find. Go back. No, sir. After this, one more slide. Just you click on next slide. Right. Thank you. Here you will find okay all the top 10 vulnerabilities. Every year, these top 10 vulnerabilities are going to be identified and it is going to be announced. In 2021 also, Android is occupied the first place, then the Debian Linux. But in 2018, you may observe Debian Linux is the top, Android is the second place right now. So this is vulnerabilities are too many. We try to identify, and all these software developers are going to identify these vulnerabilities, and they're going to be develop some patch files to that to append that operating system. Go to the next slide. And you might see the vulnerabilities are there. The percentage you may observe here, Android almost 27.13, and browser is going to be the major portion. This particular exploits are there, as well as your Java programming is also going to be exploited. Your Microsoft Office Word also going to be exploited. So likewise, you may understand we are in the insecure world. Go to the next slide, sir. So I would like to introduce a small attacks to you to understand actually. Go to the next slide. So here, I would like to talk about a random internet user. He might, his IP is going to be unaffected, then, or his phone is going to be unaffected, then what kind of problems are there? We'll see that are going to, one is going to be spam. Bot is going to be created, it is going to be bombarded with the spam mails. And sometimes what happens, because of this spam information, you were able to buy something. Example, I would like to say some adwares are there. So your computer is in the risk. Please install any antivirus. This kind of messages we will receive generally. Generally, we will receive this kind of messages. Understand? So that's why that spam it's earned that $12 million as well as $260,000 for the greeting card. Spam mails. Go to the next one, sir. Denial of service attack. Amazon, Flipkart, during Diwali time, you may find they have so many. That means these two are very. That means very rush during that period actually. If suppose Flipkart is going to be trying to attack on Amazon, Amazon trying to attack on Flipkart, then they will get a lot of advantage. If suppose anybody can create this denial of service attack, for 1 hour on any particular website, they are going to be received $20 per hour. Suppose they may create a 24-hour denial of service attack, they will receive $100 per day. Understand? Then the click fraud attack is the very popular click fraud attack. Mostly you might have seen and might heard, okay, so many places. Go to the next slide. So I would like to give a small example to you to how the user credentials are going to be stolen. The crypto miners, how they are going to be identify your web password, your gaming passwords, or your banking password, and so on. Here you may observe the silent banker attack is there. Click on the, sir, can you click on? Yeah, whenever any particular device is going to be send a request to the banking server is going to be respond to you. That means, okay, what we will do generally, we will type online.sba.com. And automatically what happens, we will send a request, then it is going to be send a response to you. In that response is going to be in the form of a JavaScript. So that a man-in-middle browser is going to be create these malwares, and they are going to inject that malware into your reply. So the reply looks like your okay SBI Bank okay reply. Then what you will do, you will type your username and password. That's enough. Your username and password is going to be stored in somewhere in the remote place, and you are going to lose your bank account okay credentials. So this is called like a man-in-browser attack. Means okay, this kind of attacks are possible. Go to the next slide, sir. And after that, lots of financial malwares right now we are observing. Especially there are spam mails are there, websites are hacking with this, and so on. Go to the next slide. And the user attacks, you might be find the statistics. Okay, right now these are the statistics are related to 2015. Suppose you may observe in 2021 results, India is in the top 5. India is in the top 5 attacked nation. That means we are in the red color. Go next slide. And if everybody knows ransomware, WannaCry, how it is spreaded over all over the world with help of SMB port number 445. Next. Yeah, ransomware, you know, why ransomware I am talking about? Most of the ransomwares they're designing and they're asking the payment through Bitcoin only. Bitcoin is a cryptocurrency. Bitcoin is a cryptocurrency. And this cryptocurrency majorly developed based on the blockchain technology. So that's why I'm introducing to you to blockchain technology in this way. That means why they're asking in the Bitcoin, why they're not asking in a different way. Suppose they may ask in a different way. Everybody knows where is the source and where is the destination. But through Bitcoin you may pay, nobody is unable to identify where the source and where the destination. And who is the user? User might use a masking ID or a pseudo ID so that he may easily escape from this kind of reverse engineering. That's why the beauty of this Bitcoin and cryptocurrency is going to be too much, and that's why that is very popular nowadays. Just go to the next slide. So blockchain and its future, you may observe blockchain is one of the emerging new development. That's why it is considered as a disruptive technology. Generally, blockchain is also going to be one kind of a distributed ledger technology. There are 3 types of distributed ledger technologies are there. One among them is going to be the blockchain. There are 2 other are there. One is one is directed acyclic graph, another distributed ledger technology. Another one is going to be the holochain. These are the 2 alternative to this blockchain. And very recently, people are started working on this directed acyclic graph as well as the holochain. So these are the 2 alternatives. What I mean to say to you is blockchain is a distributed technology. We have 3 different type of distributed ledger technologies. What are they? One is blockchain. Second one is directed acyclic graph. Third one is going to be holochain. Right? That is. And the blockchain evaluation you may observe in 90s, the smart systems development started. Mainly the concept is started, and after that 2000 year blockchain version 1 and Bitcoin are started, and Bitcoin white paper released. 50 Bitcoins rewarded to Satoshi Nakamoto during that time. He invested this Bitcoin for a coffee. Nowadays Bitcoin price, you know how much it is, and are you how many coffees you were able to buy with help of a single Bitcoin, that you know. So next version is going to be the blockchain 2.0 to 4.0 version. We have so many versions are there. Ethereum is there, smart contracts is there, Dogecoin is there, right? Bitcoin is there, Monero is there. So likewise, so many crypto coins are available today, and it's a major technology. And what I said to you, blockchain, why we need to be considered blockchain is going to be a future, as well as what kind of benefits are there with this blockchain technology. There are major advantages are there. One is going to be the transparency. Second one is going to be immutability, reliability, decentralization, and so many other uh, uh, leveraging benefits are there to us. Example, I will tell you transparency, how we can achieve transparency, as well as immutability, how we can achieve immutability. So, once you created one particular information, you are unable to change that information with help of the blockchain. That's why it is immutable. That's why it is immutable. The recent, last two eminent people, they said about something, how the main motto of this blockchain is going to be immutability only. Go to the next slide. I would like to say, what are the industries are going to be use this blockchain? Why this is blockchain is going to be a disruptive technology. The finance is using 92.3%, and supply chain is also using almost 90% of usage is going to be through blockchain only. And most of the government applications and services are turning to use this blockchain technology. That's why the blockchain technology is going to be the future for all of us. Just go to the next. And how to implement this blockchain technology? We have so many tools are there like Hyperledger, Ethereum, EOS.io, Parity, multi-chain, and so on. And who are using this blockchain development? The major is going to be Amazon Web Services, IBM, Google Cloud, Oracle, Azure, Microsoft Azure. Everybody is started to use this blockchain technology. Everybody is started to blockchain technology. What are the limitations are there in this blockchain technologies? The first limitation is going to be unsustainable consensus mechanism to develop. Why? Because consensus process is going to be the most interesting problem, and if so, why major advantage is also there in the consensus process only. Application oriented consensus mechanisms we need to be developed. Why? Because most of the blockchain technologies are going to be used in cryptocurrency. Whatever the cryptocurrencies are using this blockchain technology, they are resource consuming processes. The same technology we may not apply to all the way. So that's why a lot of research is going on how to develop a better consensus process, right? Unlimited scalability. So actually the major advantage with the blockchain technology is going to be we will use a cryptography hash function inside this blockchain technology. This that means the cryptography hash function generally they used in blockchain technology right now is SHA-256. How many possibilities are there? 2 to the power 256 possibilities are there only. But the applications are growing, so the number of transactions are going to be grown up. Because of that, we need very robust and scalable blockchain technology. And here you need to be fine. People are developing universal ledger. In a home, you have so many devices in future. A wearable, that means your shirt might have a sensor. Your microwave might use sensors. Your car is going to be autonomous car. Your TV is a smart car. Your washing machine and your shopping cart, everything is going to be connected to the internet. I'm telling to you, the 5G, whenever it is going to be introduced in all the nations, then the next instance, that means very next instance is going to be IoT will comes into the picture. IoT is going to be comes into the picture. That means most of your devices, your wearables are going to be enabled with this IoT technology. Whenever this is going to be enabled with IoT technology, the data mainly, the data sharing and data maintenance is a major problem. That's why blockchain is going to be a much needed technology for this. So go to the next slide. And you might see there's a popular Gartner chart on the blockchain and what kind of blockchains are there. You might verify here and you find out which will be sustained for the next coming 10 plus years actually. So there are people are working for the new distributed ledger technology and a new cryptocurrency software related wallets to develop actually. Go to the next slide. And here you need to be understand of the blockchain. Blockchain generally uses a three-layer concept actually. Three-layer concept. In the three-layer concept, the first layer is going to be the bottom layer is going to be very important layer for us. The bottom layer consisting two major layers. One is a consensus layer. That layer we can treat it as a layer 1, and layer 1.5 is going to be blockchain computer layer. Blockchain computer layer. In a consensus layer, you may find out we have so many consensus mechanisms like a proof of work, proof of stake, right? These and proof of Byzantine fault tolerant. This kind of consensus mechanisms are there. So how to develop an efficient and a scalable consensus mechanism is going to be always is going to be a good problem. Why? Because same proof of work generally they are using for the cryptocurrencies. The same proof of work you may apply for IoT devices related to consensus process, which might consume a lot of resources of the IoT devices. Because of that, it is not suggestible directly, right? So there are a lot of discussions are there on the consensus layer. The second one is going to, once consensus layer is going to be sent to the next layer supposed to be used to perform digital signatures computation, Merkle tree construction, cryptography hash, and peer-to-peer communication. These all are going to be managed by the layer 1.5. Clear? What I mean to say to you, digital signature is a concept actually. For that, what you require, two concepts are required. What the two concepts are required? One is going to be the public key cryptography. Public key cryptography, we have so many algorithms like RSA, algorithm cryptography, and so on. So whatever information you have, that information need to be hashed. Then after, use secret key to encrypt that particular information. So whenever you are encrypting that information with help of the private key or secret key, we can treat that information as a digital signature. So the digital signature development and Merkle root hashing is one concept, Merkle root construction is another concept. So actually we have, if suppose, most of you are, computer science or, related branches, you might know binary tree. Binary tree is going to be traversed from root to nodes, but Merkle tree is going to be traversed from leaf to root. That's the beauty of this Merkle tree. So the construction of the Merkle tree and the peer-to-peer communication development and maintenance is going to be comes into the blockchain computer or computing layer. And develop the applications. What means you need to be develop your smart contract, you have a chain codes, and you have a decentralized applications with help of some programming language like Solidity, Mu, Motoko, etc. These are all comes under the layer 2 here actually. And layer 3 is going to be people are working for the Web 3 interface. So corresponding web interface is also going to be required. That's why people are working for the Web 3, and Web 3 is very useful for us. So you try to understand from this slide, blockchain is going to be maintained 3-layer concept, and the 3-layer, out of 3-layer, first layer is going to be divided into 2. The 2 concepts are going to be consensus layer and blockchain computer. Layer 2 is going to be for application development. Layer 3 is going to be web related developments. Go to the next slide. And I would like to give a small introduction how a Bitcoin or a blockchain process is going to be work. Just I would like to give a brief information related to this. So here you might find end users. 3 end users are there: A, B, C, and Alice, Bob, and Charlie. And these 3 are going to be maintain their own secret keys that you might find your left hand side secret key A, secret key B, and secret key C. If suppose you have secret keys, what you need to do, you click on you need to be start a transaction. The transaction you need to be signed with help of your secret key. That it means you are generating a transaction. Go to the next move. And whenever you have a transaction, you sign the transaction. The transaction has to be shared with the miners. Whatever the transactions are there, go back. The transactions are going to be shared with the miners. So how these miners are going to be selected? It's a random process. Randomly, some of the nodes in the network, they are going to be, they're accepting, oh, we are going to be act as a miners and we have enough resources. Then those among them, again, they are going to be select random people. The random people are going to be treated as a miners, and all these miners are going to be receive this particular information. Once they are going to receive this information, they're keeping their memory. Suppose, okay, you might see A send a request to the one miner, the miner is going to be keep that information. Once he received that, he will keep in the mempool. We call it as a mempool. He's going to be store that information in the mempool. And that information is going to be shared among all the miners. That means if any miner can receive the message, they are going to be exchanged themselves. So that once all the miners received all the transactions, right? Click on next. So they are going to be create their own mempool. Each mempool, okay, they have some certain transactions. Once this transaction unconfirmed, what we call these are all called unconfirmed transactions. These are all called unconfirmed transactions. Suppose these unconfirmed transactions are there, then they are going to be run one consensus process over here. Go to the next slide. Once the consensus is going to be created, and one random miner is going to be selected as a leader. One random is going to be selected as a leader. So that leader selection, click on the next. So the leader is going to be selected. Once leader is selected, leader is going to be sent. That means okay. That means create a block and is going to be add that block into the blockchain. Go to the next slide. So all miners are going to validate that. Once the validation is over, the selected miner will get some reward because successfully he added one blockchain. This is the concept generally used in the blockchain. Right? Go to the next. So the main properties are going to be persistence and liveness. Go to the next. So the Bitcoin blockchain is a sequence of header, 80 bytes of each. You may click on, you will get to know this is a Genesis block, and Genesis block is going to be treated as a header. The header portion contains versions, previous header information, time, bits, nonce value, transaction route. And here in the bottom, you might see all the coin-based transactions are there. With help of this coin-based transaction, we are going to be create a Merkle route. That Merkle route we are treating here as a transaction route. And you might see in the size of each and every information. Version is going to 4 bytes, and previous header is going to 32 bytes, and so on. Clear? So this is the way all the that means the previous header is going to be hashed and treated as our previous header value. New transaction will come. Previous header value and new transaction are going to be part of a header. Again, that is going to be used to hash and forward to the next. Clear? This is the major way. This is the way Bitcoin blockchains are going to be work on. Oh, I don't want to discuss all this. Okay, go to the next slide. So small example, every 10 minutes, one particular transaction is going to be accepted. Every 10 minutes, you might see, you might type bitcoincore.com, you will find the latest transaction and latest transaction information and how much data is there in that latest transaction that you can find out. Go to the next. So the block consisting, suppose a block number is there, what values are there? You might see in here: timestamp, height, miner information, number of transaction, difficulty value, Merkle route, transaction volume, block reward, fee reward. Everything is going to be available in that block record, actually. In the block record. Go to the next slide. So this is the basic introduction related to the blockchain. And blockchain mainly used for IoT applications in the next generation, upcoming generation. So whenever you are talking about the blockchain and its applications, and whenever you are talking about IoT related applications, we should try to understand the major silent features we require to consider from the blockchain that are going to be decentralization, immutability, auditability, fault tolerance. These are the major features we need to be understand. Then after, what type of blockchain is that? That means what kind of application do you have? Previously, the previous speaker said about the spam mails, And whenever spam mails are there, okay, this is going to be maintained by the majorly a two-way. One is at the telecommunication level, other one is going to be at the network level. Most of the firewalls are going to be managed by the Cisco, Juniper, this kind of companies. These companies are going to be decide what kind of messages are going to be thrown to the spam folders, right? And because of that, we have different type of blockchains, like public or permissionless blockchain, next private blockchains, consortium blockchains, and hybrid blockchains. Like that, we have different type of blockchains are there. There are public and permissionless blockchains are there. These public blockchains are truly decentralized, and means every member treated as an equal member. Everybody can add a new block if required, if they have a turn, but everybody has to pay transaction fee, and heavy computational cost is there to hack. That's why these were very successful. Bitcoin, Ethereum, and etc. comes into the public or permissionless blockchains. Next slide. On private permission blockchain, private or permission blockchain. Here, generally government organizations, any particular organization is going to use this blockchain technology. Generally, they will use this private blockchain mechanism. Here, there is no transaction fee and there is no tamper-resistant mechanisms. Go next slide. Then, we have a consortium blockchains. It's also going to be like your private blockchains. It generally uses a permission network, and majorly this is going to be used for different applications that we will discuss in the next. Go to the next slide, sir. So that's why we have three types: public chain, public, private, and consortium. You might see in the properties: access, identity, immutability, transaction processing speed, and permissionless. You might be observed public blockchain is always going to be low. Private blockchain is going to be fast, as well as consortium blockchain is also going to be fast. Identity point of view might see here pseudo-anonymous nodes we will observe, and here approved participants only we will observe in the private and consortium blockchain. Go to the next slide. So my main motto here to explain you this permission blockchain and permissionless blockchain, as well as the consortium blockchain, how they're going to be used. That's why they're working for a blockchain interface. If we are able to develop this blockchain interface, then all this blockchain can be served very easily. Next, go to the next slide. So my main motto to explain how the future communication is going to be there. How the future communication is going to be there. Right now also we are observing cloud is going to be providing a lot of services to us, and people are working for the mobile edge computing. Why? Because a lot of load is imposed on this particular cloud. To reduce the that means load on the cloud, they are creating a mobile edge computing. So this mobile edge computing, we have edge nodes, and all these edge nodes are going to be use this blockchain concept, and these are going to be forward the information to the cloud and get the services from that example. I would like to say here, you might see at the left hand side, I don't have some left hand side D2D link. So D2D devices are going to be communicated. Why? Because in future gigabits of data needs to be transmitted and means uploaded and downloaded. That is not possible with the these existing concepts. We have a limitations. Actually, we have some limitations. That's why if suppose you may go for a device to device communication, the device to device communication, you can transmit up to terabytes of data. That's why here, whenever you're transmitting the data, there also you need to be use this blockchain concept. There also you are going to be use blockchain concept. That we will discuss, upcoming slides. Go to the next slide. So that's why very popular is going to be in the future blockchain of things. Means all the industries are supposed to be use this blockchain technology to develop their concepts. That's it. You might see in here smart grid, healthcare, food industry, internet of vehicles, supply chain, smart manufacturing. All these are going to be use this blockchain of things concept. Next. So here mainly to develop a decentralized consensus algorithm is the major point actually. So we have proof of stake, proof of work, and etc., etc., etc. Even though we need a decentralized consensus algorithm. Go to the next slide. That's why machine learning is going to be introduced to provide security for blockchain, as well as blockchain is going to be provide security to the machine learning. Go to the next slide. So your email system, spam folder, everything is going to be AI is doing the verification process. Next. So that's why we need to find the cloud source threat detection, as well as the personalized security settings are very important in the future. Hence we required machine learning concept. But where is the problem? The machine learning concepts are going to be centralized concept. At the same time, blockchain is a decentralized concept. How we can merge to both of these technologies? It's not possible that much easily. That's why Google has announced a new concept in the machine learning that is going to be a decentralized machine learning. That name is going to be the federated learning. Federated learning. So the federated learning is going to be mainly used to provide that means services to this blockchain concepts. Go to the next slide. And next slide. So that's why the security of the future learning is going to be the one of the most important problem our world is going to be facing in the future. Next slide. Yeah, whenever you are combining AI, blockchain, and IoT applications, we are missing one point. The missing point is going to be AI required a huge bandwidth. Who will provide the maximum bandwidth through these kind of technologies? Right? You might see in this particular slide, artificial intelligence is there. You have IoT devices, swarm robots, smart cities, and Internet of Vehicles are there. And you have your blockchain platform is there, as well as your cloud services are there at other side actually. In between, artificial intelligence is going to be communicate with all these and provide services. Go to the next slide. So that's why IoT is going to be used for the sensing, AI is going to be used for thinking, and blockchain is going to be used for the remember that information. Remember that information. Go to the next slide. So that's why the lot of research is going on. You have to be develop a new consensus process. You have to be develop a new decentralized infrastructure, and you need to be use type of blockchain, as well as decentralized AI applications. We need to be developed. And decentralized AI operation we need to be developed. Right? Next slide. So example, I will tell you a small research challenge for the healthcare. You might see in here, AI-based blockchain is there. That AI-based blockchain is going to be used to provide services to these hospitals. You might observe here, the patient classification to, his, whatever the ill is there with him, that diagnostic and the structure, whatever the data collected, the data is going to be in the form of unstructured, that has to be structured. Finally, they have to provide the services to the patient, and the payment is going to be through cryptocurrencies. So that's the one architecture here is this. Next slide. Go to the right. In this particular slide, you might find what we are thinking. Oh, future AI, blockchain, IoT are going to be create a different environment to us. For this, that means cloud is at some place, and your IoT device is at some place, as well as you have something with you. How all these are going to be communicated, and how much bandwidth is required? So a lot of bandwidth is required. That's why 5G and beyond applications are important here. If 5G services is divided into three types. Enhanced mobile broadband. One is the top you might find here in the triangle EMBB. This is going to be called as the enhanced mobile broadband. This enhanced mobile broadband mainly they developed for augmented reality, virtual reality point of view. Why? Because right now we are using a 3G, that means video calls. In future, you will find this AR, VR based video calls also. And another side is there MMTC, massive mission type communication. Massive mission type communication. All smart city, and you have your Fitbit and your car. All these are also going to be use this particular MMTC concept. Mostly IoT related devices are going to use this MMT device. And in future, you have a robots and connected cars. For them, we required very high, that means a low latency based applications. These are all very low latency based applications. For this, we need to be use URLLCC. So whenever you are using 5G, definitely there is an intervention of software defined networking. Whenever these two networks are there, to protect your information at core level, we require to use blockchain concept. For this, architecture is going to be provide lot of information to you about how we supposed to be use the blockchain for 5G and software defined networking. Here you might find three operators are there: green, operator A, operator B, and operator C. These three operators are going to provide services to you, but they are going to be collect the data and they're going to forward the data. The data has to be hashed, the data has to be stored, or the data has to be protected with help of the blockchain infrastructure only. Blockchain infrastructure only. And this blockchain infrastructure is going to be connected to the mobile edge cloud, and this mobile edge cloud is also going to be connected to the blockchain edge layer. This blockchain edge layer protect all the information, which is going to be exchanged with the core 5G or SDN NFP networks. And this core 5G and SDN networks are also going to be protected with help of the blockchain. Let's go to the next slide. And here we need to be develop 5G based decentralized applications. 5G based decentralized application. In this diagram, you might see some concepts over here. You have a blockchain, you have a base station, you have a private based base station. The spectrum is more issue, device to device communication is issue is there, authentication issue are there. And each and every base station is going to be maintain a slice. So here you might find the one is the network slicing is there, authentication is there, network coding is there, and spectrum sharing is there. Why? Because in a future, in a smaller area, millions of devices are there. That's their motto actually. Why I'm telling about the millions of devices in a smaller area? Anybody can accept this one? You might not accept actually, but it is real. It is going to be a reality in after few years actually. Example I will tell you. With you, how many devices are there? Check it out. With you, how many devices are there? Right now, suppose we are in the meeting. How many devices with us? Your mobile phone is there. Your mobile phone consisting so many sensors, and you have a Fitbit that might be it's a wearable for you, and you have a PC, or you have a tab. You have some extra. That means the number of devices are growing. Each person is going to be maintain more than 13 devices, but 13 different devices at a time, according to the statistics. By 2025, each person is going to be wear or he is going to be carry more than 13 devices in the future. This is the statistics I'm telling to you, right? Means suppose go to any shopping mall, go to any public places. How many people are there? A person is there means 13 devices are there with him. That 13 devices are going to be required to provide some communication. How to manage all this? Mostly Trai people might know. These are going to be the upcoming technologies. So that's why network slicing is one of the interesting topic right now. Research community is working on. Means a slice is going to be created from one end to other end. Means all the resources between the one end to other end, whatever the resources, network resources are there, the resources are going to be reserved for that particular node only. Nobody is not going to be intervening in that communication. So that's why the slicing is going to be hit in the future. Next, authentication is the most important part, and network coding is there. Network spectrum sharing is also there. If suppose millions of devices in a single place, the first problem which we are going to be faced, that is going to be spectrum sharing. For that, a lot of physical layer changes are there. Okay, according to 5G point of view, they are proposing a new encoding decoding mechanisms over there, right? Like that, okay, you may observe, suppose we will introduce here blockchain concept. What are major considerations we need to be considered? Security with a decentralized trust communication, and automation and flexibility with a smart contract, privacy preserving with the cryptographic technology, and the transparency as well as tokenization we need to be used. And mainly we need to be preserve the properties of blockchains are going to be consistency, privacy, transparency, immutability, integrity, and scalability issues. So these are okay majorly they are working to develop okay decentralized 5G based okay applications. Next slide, and we may classify how to okay use blockchain for 5G communication. In that case, we need to be first talked about the network management, computing management, communication management, security and privacy, applications and services. Especially network management point of view, majorly we will use SDN, network function virtualization, network slicing concepts. And computing purpose, the future is going to be with mobile edge computing. Content sharing is there with help of content caching, data storage, distributed computing, cloud computing, and so on. So you might see, okay, these are all the real research challenges to us to work on it. Next slide. And in future, how this is going to be used. You might see the 5G is there, Wi-Fi is there, and blockchain technology and distributed ledgers are there. And most of the communication, you might see in human-centric communication, device-to-device communication, your okay, NFV, network function virtualization, slice orchestra, and connected cars, as well as the Internet of Vehicles, and internet smart grid is there, and your smart city applications are there, UAVs are there. So all these are going to be connected to your 5G communication. Then their blockchain usage is going to be more. Next slide. And these are the layers generally we will use. So the blockchain network layer and blockchain edge layer and physical layer in the blockchain for 5G communication. Next. And these are the major okay, discussions are there: access network, edge network, core network, and service. Next slide. Go to the next slide. So this is about my discussion, and in the conclusion, what I mean to say, the future is going to be the major okay, disruptive technology like AI, blockchain, 5G, and IoT. The combination of these four only. The combination of these four only.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you very much, sir. Okay.
Thank you, sir, for
Is it fine, sir? Okay, time?
Pardon, sir?
The time, whichever I taken.
Yeah, sir. So, thank you for apprising us about the blockchain technology. We'll quickly take some questions, sir. There is one raised hand.
Yeah, no problem, sir. We can.
I will ask Mr. Gauri Shankar Kesharwani ji. 1 minute, I'll invite him. Yeah, he's invited. Kesharwani ji.
Yes, sir. Thank you very
much.
Thank you. This was a very, very informative session. I can see and congratulate you. In fact, I have two basic questions. Question number one: we used to say that blockchain is a distributed ledger technology, but if you see there are two types of blockchain you've discussed in your presentation. One is called the public blockchain, and another private blockchain. In public blockchain, as I understand, it's a fully distributed. Anybody can join. It's an anonymous person can join and do the transactions. But the limitation there is that there has to be some currency, because currency has to be there. Currency can be in form of Ethereum. It can be in form of Bitcoin. Without currency, consensus cannot be achieved. But as far as other blockchain, that is a private blockchain is concerned, private blockchain, their participants are known to each other, but they do not trust each other. So that there also consensus is required, because without consensus, any transaction, any kind of be it transaction, maybe money transaction or maybe any valuable information sharing cannot be encoded in the blockchain, cannot be included in blockchain. So consensus is required. But the main problem is that if suppose I am running a blockchain with 10,000 nodes, private blockchain, and everybody is known to me, but I need at least 50% persons in favor of consensus. So the problem is that how will I get the 50%, any 5,000 person for involved in the consensus process? There are some certain consensus algorithms are there, like Paxos are there, Raft are there, but they still it goes on majority. Without majority, any information cannot be included into the blockchain. And if it cannot, consensus is not made, there will be a discrepancy. There will be two different forking of blockchain. This will happen. So, what I feel like, even if in case of 5G communication, because everybody will be involving blockchain in their network, it will be kind of private blockchain network. But how the consensus will be achieved at a large scale? So there is a scalability issue. This is my viewpoint. You may like to highlight something.
Yeah,
Do you
yeah.
agree?
I would like to share my answer with you. The first perception is going to be blockchain. Whenever we are using in the sense, immediately there is a cryptocurrency, something is involved. That is wrong actually. Why? Because blockchain is a one mechanism. That mechanism can be used to develop any decentralized applications. Example, I would like to tell you. Suppose, okay, in MNIT, we want to issue certificates. So here, okay, there is no cryptocurrency concept actually. Here, what is there? I want to develop a blockchain technology. Who are the that means okay, the parties are going to be involved in this. I need to be taken into the account. Who are the parties are there? Students are there. Students are there, and there are okay, higher authorities are there. And whenever we are going to be issue the certificate, who first of all the participants at the top level has to be agree for that. Means example, I would like to say there is a senate is there. In the Senate, some group of people are there. These all group of people needs to be accepted. Yes, all of them availability is a major challenge. That's why what they said, in the available group, at least 51%, more than 51% people may agree the transaction is going to be valid. Means need not to available all the parties, but whoever available among that, more than 51% people needs to be accept, then that is going to be valid. Here also so many discussions are there, a lot of research is going on related to the consensus process, and in the consensus process also different type of consensus are there. What I said to you, proof of work is for the Bitcoin point of view, proof of stake is for Ethereum point of view. Likewise, proof of eligibility is there, proof of concept is there, proof of some other concepts are there. Means this consensus process is going to be defined based on the applications only. Consensus process is going to be based on the applications only. Like if suppose proof of work is there, proof of work is going to consume a lot of energy and huge resources are required to compute something. We may not use the same thing for a smaller application. So my submission to all of you is going to be, first you try to understand what application are you developing. Accordingly, you need to be decide what kind of consensus process is going to be good for your application. So am I reachable to you, sir?
Yeah. Thank you very much. In fact, this is what actually my thought also goes on. Types of consensus depends upon the application.
Yes.
It's not always a proof of work. It's not always proof of elapsed time.
Correct.
But in fact, consensus, a lot of research has been done in 1970s, etc. Now nowadays, using it.
Simply, I would like to add one here, sir. One of my student is working on this consensus process only. Connected vehicles point of view. Suppose you might see in a junction, the cars are there. So many cars are there. Traffic jam happened. During the traffic jam, so how do you know what event, because of what event this traffic jam happened? And all cars are unknown. Most of the cars are unknown to you. But in between the cars, we need to be communicating. For that, what is required? First of all, who is the legitimate user is going to provide a legitimate information to you, need to be find out. For that, we need a proof of eligibility. Means Before we are going to run our proof of consensus process, we need to be select the nodes. Those nodes are going to be legitimate nodes only, genuine nodes. Only we need to be select for the process actually. So that point of view, she introduced one more consensus process that is going to be called as a proof of eligibility, whom we need to be treat as an authorized person. Right. This is the way the research is going on a lot actually in this particular consensus process.
Thank you very much for your nice presentation. I can say a good PPT you have used. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
We have one more raised hand, but we are running out of time. I would request Mr. Sanjay Kumar to put his question in chat box so that, and I request, you can ask your question, Sanjay. I think you are on the stage.
Yep. Thanks, Manish boss. Thanks, Dr. Ramesh, for the nice presentation here. I'm Sanjay Kumar, and I extensively work on 5G. Right. So there are two things what I wanted to understand. First thing, you mentioned that 5G, the blockchain is going to be used on the device side of it, where we have a lot of IoT devices connecting to blockchain. The other part is the network deployment. Right.
Yes.
Typically, if you see networks are typically deployed by MNOs. So who is going to be the authority to approve the use of blockchain or the control of blockchain? Is it going to be MNO? Is it going to be centralized, decentralized, and all that stuff? That's what I mean.
Sorry, here two type of concepts that people are looking for. One is a decentralized solution or a centralized solution.
1 second.
Okay, sure. Right. There are two type of solutions are there with us. One is a centralized and a decentralized type of solutions. If you go for a decentralized solution, every party is going to be equal. Even that is a government or a private or a somebody, it's a different actually. And if suppose that particular system maintains more than 51% of legitimate users, then we will go with the public blockchain, and we can use the public blockchain. And even government is also not having any authority to control that particular kind of network, blockchain network. Second is the private network or permission based network. In the permission based network, authorized people are there. Those authorized people are going to be allow only the people who are going to be registered for that particular services only. For that services. That's why whenever you comes to heterogeneous of networking concepts, definitely the private blockchain will not give better result. We need a public blockchain, but we cannot impose completely public blockchain. That's why we need to go for hybrid mode actually. Hybrid mode.
That answers. So mostly for MNO deployment, it may be a mix of private and public kind of.
Public as well as consortium. Yep. One private, another private is there. These two private networks are going to be created another private network.
So tomorrow multiple operators can collaborate together.
That's the point, sir. Exactly, you said. Right, you are saying.
Thanks.
All the private networks are going to be collaborate, and they're going to maintain one distributed lecture.
Yeah.
For the service point of view. That.
Got my answer. Yeah. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dr. Batula.
Thank you.
We quickly move on to our last lecture of the day. It is about the philanthropic case studies, use cases in blockchain. So it would be, the talk will be given by Shri Apoor Mehra. Mr. Apoor Mehra is currently a senior program manager in Emerging Market Group, EMG, Microsoft India. His current focus is to launch new products which deliver content and digital services to last mile undeserved consumers. He is also a co-founder or CTO of Three Wheels United, a data-driven lending company which focuses on credit to purchase electric vehicle to low-income users. He was previously a research engineer in the technology for emerging market at Microsoft Research India. His research involved designing a complex social technical system to cater the needs of the users in emerging market. He has also worked with TRI to design and prototype solution for the how to use blockchain to reduce the spam. He is an alma mater of Triple IIT Delhi. I will request Mr. Mehra to deliver his talk. Sir, please. Sir, you are mute, sir. Kindly unmute yourself, sir.
Are you able to hear me?
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Manishji. Thank you so much, Sanjay, and all the previous speakers. Thank you. Great to see you, Asit sir. So I'll be talking about. Let me first share my screen. Let me know when it's visible. Is the other slides visible?
Yes, it is visible now.
Thank you. No, it's good afternoon, everyone, and it's pleasure being in such august company. Good to see some familiar faces. I've had the pleasure of working with Asit sir and some other members of Trai while the deliberations and discussions around the UCC laws were being ongoing, and had a chance to learn about blockchain as well as how it can be used in several applications. Got to learn a lot from Asit sir, and then there was Sunil sir about how technologies can come and in fact transform various sectors. And already a lot has been spoken about that. In this talk, I'll actually take you through another use case of blockchain, which the idea would be to communicate that blockchain is a rapidly evolving technology. It's one of the modern technologies which has seen great uptake in the last decade, and how all of us have a chance to think about various places that it can help solve some of the existing challenges, and also play a role in shaping the future of this technology itself. So with that, I'll just quickly go through the agenda. We'll do a quick introduction. I won't dive into the details. Some of the previous speakers have already given a lot of details. We'll just give a broad overview and classification. Again, this will be mostly repeat, but we'll spend most of the time on the second half, which is using blockchains to bring transparency in the domain of donations or philanthropy, like we say. So just a 10 or 30-second refresher. Like we have said, blockchain at its core is a decentralized, distributed digital record of transactions with blocks tied together cryptographically. And each of these terms is a very important, the decentralized aspect, the distributed aspect, as well as the fact that each of the blocks are tied together in a manner that is secured by cryptography. Which brings, like, all these things combined is what brings some properties to the blockchain, which, let's say, other similar or other ledgers that exist, databases, SQL, NoSQL, or distributed databases don't offer. Things like immutability, verifiability, and traceability. And that is what sort of differentiates blockchain from these more centralized technologies, right? So next is types of blockchain. Again, we've covered a lot. We'll broadly classify it into three categories. One is obviously public blockchains, the likes of Bitcoin, Ethereum. And then we have private and permission blockchains, the likes of Fabric, Quorum. And then there is a growing suite of hybrid blockchains. So, okay, this is something interesting, and I think some of us might know what this is. But this actually ties into a discussion which both Asit sir and Dr. Ramesh were mentioning. So what this picture is this is basically every days. So this is the first 5,000 days. This was a collage designed by people, and the NFT for this collage actually sold for roughly $70 million US. And this was the second most expensive artwork that was sold by a living artist. And the fact is that it is completely digital, and the art and the copyrights to it exist on an NFT which lie on a blockchain. In this case, Ethereum. Now, the even more surprising factor is the person who bought this, who goes by the name Meta Cohen. He's basically a investor in this blockchain space and works out of Singapore, and he has his Indian roots. He's buying all these digital arts, and he's creating a metaverse of museum where you can come view these digital arts. So goes on to just show how various pieces of technology are coming together: blockchain, NFT, smart contracts, metaverse, AR, VR. So very interesting times. So broadly, like we have already covered, like there are two types of use cases of blockchain, right? And even though blockchain can be applied to plethora of use cases, what I want to just impress upon everybody is that there's a large diversity, how you would apply the blockchains, and also the large diversity in the kind of use cases and the underlying blockchains you would use. And I think Dr. Ramesh was mentioning previously, the consensus mechanism, the blockchain, where it's deployed, how it's used, changes with the type of use cases. But broadly, there are two buckets. One is obviously societal scale problems. And here we are talking about millions and millions of people participating in this network. It's mostly open, and you have use cases like cryptocurrency, one of the most common and fascinating use cases with which blockchain actually came into the prime. Recently, the NFT use case, but we have also other use cases such as domain names on top of blockchains, or issuing identities for every citizen on the planet, decentralized identity on top of blockchains. Then there are more industry-specific use cases. These are more focused and solve a specific set of problem involving a smaller so-called consortium of organizations, people, entities. And here we have typical use cases. We've discussed supply chain, very common logistics. Banking, international fund transfers is another use case that we discussed. And there is a lot of use case in healthcare. And previously, Asad sir spoke about how blockchain or DLTs are being used to reduce spam. And again, like with any upcoming technology, there are several challenges that come with it. And if we were to classify, I would say I would put them under these three buckets. And with any evolution of any technologies, these the challenges will change, and we will evolve and make some of these things better. But compared to existing paradigms, like let's say databases or internet protocols, blockchains are relatively new to the world, and by design they are distributed in nature, and hence they face some additional challenges when compared to their centralized counterparts, right? So for example, one very common challenge is upgrades. So when you're managing a centralized system on the cloud, it is very easy to push an upgrade to the application. But now assume your blockchain, which is running across millions of participants or on millions of laptops, PCs, servers across the world. How do you update such an unconventional network of distributed applications? And we've heard the challenges which cause a lot of folks, like the Bitcoin main blockchain has at several times, because the community cannot agree on the next generation or the set of upgrades, there have been multiple forks in the Bitcoin network itself. And this results in multiple copies of the chain running, things like that. Another very common problem is which is sort of the security side. I think this was also brought up, is the 51% attack. So this is more relevant to the proof of work when, let's say, an attacker group somehow is able to amass a majority of the hash rate or the compute power on a target cryptocurrency, and then at that time they can actually modify the network, and then your immutability log goes for a toss, and they can do attacks like double spending. They can control the network, they can halt the chain, things like that. And again, there are several discussions, ongoing discussions, on how do you prevent this. What are the, let's say, it could be by changing the protocol itself, the consensus itself, by limiting the amount of hash power that a typical computer has, things like that. But again, this is a open problem. Another, I think we've all would have appreciated as a part of our discussion is blockchain as a solutions are it's way more complicated than a typical, let's say, database or a server application. There are a lot more aspects to consider. There is a security, distributed system aspect, interoperability aspect, which means typically it is these solutions are more complex in nature, and they currently the industry is still facing shortage. So there isn't enough talent out there who can actually run, maintain, and, let's say, build blockchain solutions. So it's, again, colleges are playing a key role by educating students, but the kind of spurt we have seen, at least industry side, we face a lot of shortage over there. Similarly, on the resource utilization front, I think people spoke about this as well. Especially the proof of work blockchains are very high in terms of the kind of energy they consume. For example, the Bitcoin network just today at present consumes around 110 terawatt hours of energy per year, which is roughly equivalent to around I was reading yesterday, 0.6% of the global electricity production. Almost the amount of energy the entire country of Malaysia or Sweden uses is just being used by Bitcoin network. So and given the current state of affairs of the world, you have to also think about the sustainability aspect, and there is also a lot of work going in this direction as well. Anyway, I think I was able to hopefully give an overview about the various aspects of blockchain. We will spend the second half talking about one such problem, which is the idea was how do you use blockchains for philanthropy? And the first question which you might ask is, why philanthropy? And this was a problem which was at least at heart or very core to some of us when we see just the numbers. So India alone receives roughly 10 billion US dollars in donations across, like, its internal and both external funds combined. And globally across the world, roughly every year, more than $500 billion are donated. So this is huge sums of money. And if you think about it, this could actually, literally transform the landscape in terms of the utilization. But we believe that the problem in this space is that there is very little transparency and accountability. So once you've given the money, or once the money has come, there is very little view into how it was used. Did the project get executed? And this might result into leakage of funds. And we spent some time talking to a lot of large donor houses, lot of funders, and in fact a lot of corporations. Given the CSR law, like, almost all big corporations give a huge sum of money in terms of CSR. And we realized that there are several intermediaries in the ecosystem which are mismanaged. Sometimes they're just not efficient, other times they could be fraudulent, and there are, what this results into is sort of low efficacy, that a lot of money which is donated by good-hearted people, and a lot of money which is donated by organizations and individuals does not reach the intended purpose. So there's a huge opportunity for impact here. And the kind of models that we are dealing with in terms of transparency, bringing in trust, bringing in more visibility into the overall ecosystem, we thought blockchain could play a very critical role for being the backbone. Obviously, there'll be other things that you will build on top of it to improve the overall ecosystem, but blockchain could be the underlying backbone which helps power this landscape. And the way we thought about it is that today what happens is there are a few intermediaries which wield too much power. So think about big donors. Like once they've given money, they can say, I want it to be used in a specific manner. Or large NGOs, which once they give, so we figured out once that large NGOs don't even operate themselves. Like money is given to large NGOs, they pass it on to smaller NGOs which are actually working on the ground, and they control how that money is spent. Then we have auditors who actually are supposed to do a financial check in terms of audits of these NGOs and various stakeholders in the ecosystem, but they hold a large power in terms of how that money is spent, or we know all kind of cases that can happen there. But the problem is that as an end beneficiary or as a small donor, I have very little visibility or no power once the donation has been made. A poor end beneficiary for whom it's intended, he doesn't even know if, let's say, 100 rupees or 500 rupees or 1 meal or 10 meals were donated on his behalf, and he has no way to know that information. There is no mechanism for physical verification today, right? So bridging the gap between the physical and the digital world, wherein let's say if you donated money to build 10 toilets in a remote district in a rural part of India, you never know if that was built, or if one was built, 10 photos were taken. There is no way to reliably verify that. There are several good NGOs in the ecosystem, but they have no way of standing out. So mostly the way we donate is through word of mouth. Okay, my friend or your family or somebody will come and say that I know this NGO is doing really good work, and you end up donating. But there is no way to, let's say, have a transparent way to just find out which NGO is actually doing what, reviews, rating, just like you like. So there is more transparency or reviews, open reviews in terms of products or a typical headphone on Amazon than a typical NGO. And there is very limited mechanism for citizens to participate as a common citizen, right? So the idea was that can we use, the question that we asked for, can we use blockchains to make donation as reliable as direct charity? So almost on lines that if I were to actually physically go and pay someone 10 rupees myself, because can I create an ecosystem where that level of transparency, traceability, reliability can be brought in, right? So how would we go about thinking if we were to build something like this? So one is that current blockchains, we've spoken about it, need large, powerful servers. And this becomes a great barrier for adoption, because what we ideally want is to have an open network where every citizen can come participate, can rate, can tell, what's the work a NGO or a organization is doing in my town, in my city. A public network of everybody altruistically participating, adopting it, and that doing it without incurring any cost. For example, today if you want to do a transaction on Ethereum, you have to incur a cost. But how do you make it as cheap as no cost, right? And why do you want citizens to participate? The idea is that scale leads to security. Like if you have the power limited in the hands of few 5 or 10 a set of members, and they are not very heavily regulated, it's easy to corrupt those members, because there are the incentives are there for any of the mishandlings. But when the overall security lies with millions and millions of people, it's difficult to let's say corrupt millions of citizens, and there is more, the overall ecosystem becomes more collusion proof. And this was also the reason, for example, the part why societal scale blockchains like Bitcoin and Ethereum work even despite a lot of government regulations, because once citizens know how to run it, they run it, and it's sort of a parallel ecosystem in itself. So then we started discussing what is the problem. Like on one end, you have public blockchain. So which blockchain should we use? So public blockchains can support millions of people, and for applications like cryptocurrency, but we all know that their performance is pretty low, like 20s, tens of transactions per second. Cannot support a societal use case like philanthropy, where you have thousands and thousands of donations happening every second. On the other hand, you have consortium blockchain, which are being used by banks for things like interbank transfer, like we discussed, and other use cases where you have a limited set of participants. They support thousands of transactions, but then you're limited by the number of participants. You can have 10, 20, 50, maybe 100 participants, maybe 1,000 participants. But your goal of having millions and millions of people becoming part of the network and contributing doesn't materialize. In 2017, MIT came up with a very novel protocol, which was Algorand, which sort of bridged the gap between both these worlds, which was a blockchain which could support millions of people and also perform very high transaction throughput. And this blockchain is called Algorand, and today it's a publicly running blockchain being supported by MIT and the founder, Dr. Mikio Silvali. So still, the problem exists that all these three types of blockchain require high utilization. If you have access to good servers, beefy servers on the cloud, you have access to thousands of dollars which you can burn on cloud services, Azure, AWS, or GCP, good. But what if you are a typical citizen with just a smartphone? What do you do? So that's how we came about to design or think about the design of a new novel blockchain protocol, which we called blocking. It was derived from the name of graphene, which is lightweight and strong and sturdy. And the idea was that create a lightweight blockchain which can have millions of participants and have a performance of thousands of transactions per second. So I'll just take you in the next very high level, knowing we are behind time, at how blocking works. But before that, a little bit about the property. So what we are able to support with a blockchain like blocking is thousands of transactions per second. So it's good enough for real world use. It can support millions of participants. But the biggest question, what is the cost of participation in a blockchain? And by cost of participation, I don't mean that, let's say you're sitting outside the Ethereum network and but you can do a transaction. No, being an active member that takes part in the consensus protocol, being able to vote on what should be the next block and what should be the overall, how the overall chain evolves, right? So the cost of participation in a network like blocking is it will use roughly 60 megabytes of data of your phone, which we believe is very low. We spend way more, I think, on YouTube videos today, roughly equivalent to maybe 1 10-minute YouTube video. We only use few MBs of storage on your device, and for running blocking for 24 hours, it roughly costs on a typical smartphone 3% of your battery, right? So how is the blocking architecture designed? And if you think about it, our inspiration was, we went back to our philosophical roots, and our inspiration was actually the design of a perfect democracy itself, right? So you have a few set of powerful representative server nodes. These are small in number, just a few hundreds of them. But citizen need not trust the overall, whatever is the overall representatives, right? 80% of them can actually behave in a malicious manner. And the goal over here is that they, at the end of the day, end up executing citizens' decisions. So whatever citizens collectively decide should be what the powerful servers should act on, right? On the other hand, you have very resource constrained, but millions and millions of citizens with just a smartphone. The assumption is that 70% of the citizens will be honest. And decisions in this blockchain are the consensus protocol we use is PBFT, and the decisions are taken actually based on majority. And it could be any decision, whether a transaction is valid, whether the picture is actually of a toilet, or any of the things that need to go into a block. So in the case of philanthropy, how does it work? Like we spoke about, the nodes, the powerful nodes, that role is played by the big entities in the ecosystem, which are the larger NGOs, the auditors, the corporates. The citizens could be anybody, you, me, anyone who is a small donor, is a beneficiary, wants to participate in the network and support this end-to-end transparent philanthropic ecosystem. So how does it work? Without going into too many details, given time. So what we have ensured is that there is this two-tiered architecture where the storage of the blockchain is actually with the servers. So only servers store the blockchain. What and servers are the ones which are communicating in the peer-to-peer manner, doing all the gossip. All the communication that citizens do happens via the servers, via these politician nodes. And uh, the way citizens ensure is that each citizen is given a unique key, and that is private to them, and they are the any communication that they do is signed by their key, and only verified communications can go through in this network, right? uh, so how does a typical block or progress in this blockchain? Again, if millions of citizens start participating in every block, it becomes unscalable very soon. So what we've used is there is a very interesting cryptographic function known as VRS, verifiable random functions. What they do is it gives a citizen a way to verifiably prove that if he or she was part of a particular round, and only the citizens which are part of a particular round are allowed to vote. So out of millions of citizens, for a particular round, randomly 2,000 citizens are selected. They vote, they decide, they're presented with information around what are the transactions, they vote on it. All of this happens in the background. They don't have to actively engage with the application. The keys are used to cryptographically sign, and blocks gets communicated to n number of storage nodes, and then the gossip happens, and the blockchain progresses by the next block. So I'm leaving out a lot of details given time, but more than happy to connect if anyone's interested in knowing more. So what a design like this does is it's scalable by the overall, not limited by the number of citizens. So if you increase the citizens by even 10x, from 1 million to 10 million, in fact, the per citizen load reduces by 10x, because at a given time, only constant number of citizens are being selected for a subcommittee. Even increasing the number of server nodes, storage nodes, does not increase the cost of the overall running of the network. And we believe a network like this would actually help bring more engagement. People will participate in the philanthropy and donation ecosystem, as well as will bring more transparency into this setup. So where we are actually currently is we are trying to get this deployed for the entire Microsoft-based philanthropy. So the entire CSR which happens in Microsoft will be backed and run by this ecosystem, and then soon the hope is that we'll be able to bring in other players to improve the overall ecosystem. Start in-house, then scale outwards. So towards the end, I'll just to give you a brief summary that so we covered a few use cases, and we spoke about a few limitations of blockchain. Then we discussed the use of blockchain, or how blockchain can help bring transparency in the philanthropy ecosystem. We discussed design of a new blockchain, and the idea of sharing this new design with folks in the audience was to tell that this is still a very exciting space. A lot of innovation is happening, and we should all try to learn more and contribute to the global blockchain ecosystem. And webinars like these are really helpful in that sense, in creating those awareness. Lastly, this to take maybe close, I would say that very similar to the question which Dr. Ramesh asked, that we have to be very careful in terms of choosing a blockchain. Like when we have a use case in mind, the first question should be that, okay, what is the exact use case? How do I leverage blockchain? Which kind of blockchains actually help solve the problems that are the key pain points for the application that I'm designing? And for example, in this case, the one that we designed, the idea was to support which are citizen-powered application, an application where everybody could take part. And one of the examples, for example, was like we mentioned, was philanthropy, but other things could be we can think about DMTs or fund dispersals. Again, a lot of intermediaries in the ecosystem, and what you want is fund transfers from the main to the last source happening with everybody having information. Another use case could be citizen powered journalism, where people are able to report information in a decentralized manner, and you are able to track authenticity and verifiableness of that information. That will be all for from me today, and happy to take some questions, or if there's some feedback, would love to hear that as well.
Thank you so much, Apur, for apprising about a different dimension of blockchain technology. I think this shows that the use cases of blockchain are available everywhere. So thank you so much for coming here and delivering such a beautiful lecture. Anybody has question for Apur? I think there is one question from Alok Tyagi in chat box. Mr. Tyagi is asking about blockchain. Is it a combination of public and private, both having only few full nodes and rest are only containing partial node or participating with full nodes for transaction? Hence, we get both advantage, isn't?
So it's a hybrid two-tiered architecture, very different from, let's say, typical blockchain, which is only server-based. But it is not both public and private, because it's actually public. Anybody, actually, you could say anybody could be a citizen node. There is no limitation around that. But to become part of a server, you need to have additional resources, and you can join the network. So it has, I would say, the properties of both the network, but in essence, it's still public.
Thank you, Apur. Any more question for Apur? There is one question for Kadian, sir. Sir, are you there, sir? Kadian, sir. Okay, I think that is mute. No issues. We'll ask this question from sir separately. Now I will request Mr. Manish Saxena to carry out the session further and give vote of thanks.
Thank you, Manish. As we have reached to the end of this webinar, I would first like Shri Mahendra Srivastava, the Principal Advisor, TRAI, for accepting our invitation for being his guest and delivering his keynote. He spared his valuable time for us and sharing his information with us. I request Shri Asit Kadyanji, a special guest for today and the speaker on this occasion. Other eminent speaker, Shri Sanjay Kumarji, PGM BSNL, Shri Dr. Ramesh Babu Batula, Professor MNIT Jaipur, and Shri Apur Mehra from Microsoft India. They have shared their knowledge with us in a very beautiful way, and that can be understood by even a layman also. So thank you very much. I thank all the participants from various universities and colleges, the students from and faculties from universities and colleges, officers from various department, government organizations, officers from TRAI, Doordarshan, and other departments, CAG members, representative of TSPs and other TSP members, and all other consumers who are, I am hopeful that they have been very much benefited with this webinar. Thank you very much. And at the last, I thank all the team members of my regional office, TRI regional office Jaipur team, for making this webinar a success. Thank you very much.
Sir, shall we end the session?
Yes.